Three,
Two,
one.
monkey bars. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Thicc Butter podcast. My name is Alex.
My name is Jesse.
Okay, Thicc.
And Butter.
And this is our best of 2020, 2020, 2021.
In March 2022.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're wondering why so late, are they really gonna do this? Yes. We just decided to do it. One, to catch up on some things that we missed, and then two, the Academy Awards are happening right now, or about to happen. So we just thought that this would be a good time to do it. Also, fuck the Academy Awards.
Yeah, they seem spooky crazy.
The Thicc Butter Academy Awards is what's going on right now.
Yeah,
That's what really matters.
Yeah, this is a real shit for sure.
The real shit. Don't watch that dumb broadcast.
Honestly, it's just
I'm gonna watch it because it's probably gonna be a train wreck, and it's gonna be funny to watch.
Yeah.
But yeah, very excited. Very excited to list off these movies.
Yeah, it took a while to sort of accumulate them because for me, it just took a while to just see a lot of movies from 2021, both just because I wasn't going to the theater a lot and there wasn't a bunch of them, they were still kind of dry on the movie run the pandemic.
I think that I have a long list of things. Like I definitely saw there's definitely more films this year for sure.
Yeah.
That came out, and like things are like I think what you need is like, especially in the beginning of 2021, like it wasn't until like the summer when things like kind of picked up again and things were coming out. But like in the first like half of 2021, nothing came out. I mean,
yeah.
Like A Quiet Place 2 was like the big movie that kind of brought people back to the theater. And that was in like what, June? Or like
it was halfway through the year already. Yeah, it was crazy.
But 2022 already shaping up to be much different year. It's only been 2 months and there have been some really notable worth talking about movies that have already come out. Notably the Batman, Scream, and we have Everything Everywhere All at Once, the new A24 horror movie X. I mean, there's tons of shit, cool shit coming out in theaters now. So it seems like that we're back, baby. It seems like that we're back. So that's really exciting.
And that being said, I was looking back on 2021, like my lists and stuff, and I was getting really excited because I had forgotten how many good movies I seen in 2021.
Yeah,
there's a lot of good ones.
Yeah, I totally agree. And so I'm excited to talk about these fucking good movies.
Let's get right into it.
I'm ready. Do you want to, because we both have top 10s. I have a long list of honorable mentions. So
I think we should just kind of start shooting those off. Okay. I have
you want to list your honorable mentions? Yeah, list your honorable mentions and then make your top 10.
I'm curious to see if any of these would actually be on your top 10. I'm mentioning Spider-Man, which I'm expecting we're probably going to talk about again. Pig, Nicolas Cage's Pig, which is a really interesting, weird movie.
Right.
T-Tane was another one we talked about on this podcast. Crazy one. Power of the Dog, another film that's probably going to be in the Oscars this March coming up soon. So. Definitely going to be in the Oscars. Well, it is in the Oscars. It might win some Oscars, is what I mean. So. And then two others that aren't that are TV shows, not movies, that I think are filmic enough to mention, which is Squid Game, which everyone knows Squid Game. Squid Game's crazy. And the other one that I personally absolutely adored was Midnight Mass. I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah,
Near
a
the
lot of
end, the
people love
writing
that.
got a little yeah, I thought it
Yeah.
was really good. Like the first half of that, I think is some like perfect writing. It's an improvement on Haunting of Hill House, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
And
Which
I
I
think
thought was
everyone
really fun.
yeah,
Haunted Hill House.
I thought
Yeah,
that show was great. And I just think that he just took what worked in that and just made it better. It was more
yeah,
unique. I thought it was super duper
that's awesome.
awesome.
Well, that's interesting. There's definitely, well, I'm trying from top 10 now because there's definitely a handful of those that I'm going to mention. But okay, I have a long list of honorable mentions. I'm not going to talk in depth about all of these. Maybe I'll just rattle them off if you have any questions.
Yeah, I'll stop you.
Stop me. Okay, a couple of them I will explain. Number 31, um, I put Zack Snyder's Justice League just because I did
Oh,
genuinely enjoy this movie, and I do think that it might be my favorite Zack Snyder thing that he's ever done, that I've ever seen. I don't think
that's a good
I think I've
inclusion.
seen most Zack Snyder things. This is my favorite thing that he's ever done. It's not great, it's not perfect, but it was significant in the year, and it was cool to
Wait, you
watch.
think that's do you like that more than Watchmen?
I have to think about that. I don't love
Okay.
Watchmen. I
I
think
really
Watchmen is,
like that movie. I
yeah,
genuinely love that movie.
I'm glad. But the graphic novels, like, it's significantly better. I
Oh,
don't want to go on a Zack Snyder rant
definitely.
for me, but I think Zack Snyder is possibly the worst, like one of the worst filmmakers around.
I
He's
don't
just so
disagree.
emotionally inept. Like
Uh,
Watchmen is a very cool looking movie, but it has none of the emotional core and nothing that made the graphic novel interesting in my opinion. It's him
uh-huh.
basically just going word for word, page for page, not making anything interesting out of it. Still cool to watch. It's a beautiful looking movie. But I think I like Watchmen. It's probably on par with that, in my opinion. Um,
Okay, cool.
Better than Sucker Punch. I mean, it's likely the worst movie
Uh,
ever created.
that
Um,
dog is made out of dogs. That
yeah,
dog is made out of dog shit.
yeah. Okay, and then Don't Look Up, which is like I'm one of the weird people that
Hmm.
kind of enjoyed that movie. Yes, it does have a lot of issues, and the political shit in it was pretty ham-fisted, but I found it to be enjoyable. I'm not one of these people that gets if a movie's political. I don't get. It's almost like when a political movie comes out, people just automatically hate it. I'm not really one of those people. Uh, there were parts of it that I thought were funny and enjoyable. But it's like 30. So, okay, the Godzilla versus Kong, extremely fun,
Fun
blockbuster.
movie.
Humans still are complete trash. Improvement on the last movie, definitely, but still
Definitely.
majorly trash. The monsters were awesome. Really fun film. One of the weirdest movies of 2021, Matrix Resurrections. This is a movie that I have never in my life seen a movie that I've been so conflicted about. There's parts of it that I think are legit brilliant, and there's parts of it that I think are so laughably horrible that I don't. And that's kind of how I feel about a lot of Wachowski's stuff. Like Jupiter Ascending, for example. Um,
That's a
and
wild film.
yeah, it's so bad, but it's so creative and it's like so visually stimulating that you're kind of like sucked into it, but it's so bad. Like the movie's so
Yeah.
terrible. Like that's kind of a weird conundrum with them. Um, but if you haven't seen Matrix Resurrections and you like are a Matrix fan, I highly suggest watch it because it is a very interesting movie, and I included it because it is interesting. It takes bold risks, which I really, really appreciated. It's just, I don't know. Some people love it, but it was not
Yeah.
really for me.
And it's on
Uh,
HBO Max, right?
Call HBO Max, yeah.
Yeah, so
Um,
grab a beer and some popcorn and
yeah,
just turn it on HBO Max if you
yeah.
have it. Check it out.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna, and then, number 29. Okay, these are, now we're in the, that I actually genuinely enjoyed. The Mitchell versus the Machines. It's a very
Mm,
fun Netflix animated film. No Time to Die, which is a really cool Bond movie. It was cool to see Daniel Craig's
But that's
final Bond movie.
27. Man,
Yeah.
damn.
Above that, F9, Fast and Furious 9.
Oh.
Goddamn, so good, so fun, so stupid. Uh, there are some people that complained that this movie jumped the shark, and that's why they didn't like it. To those people, I say, what are you watching these movies for? I want this franchise to jump 20 sharks and go into fucking space. That's what I'm watching these
uh,
movies for.
uh,
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 Amazing film. I cannot wait for Fast and Furious 10. Um,
uh,
Bad Trip, super funny Netflix comedy Eric Andre prank movie that actually innovated
oh
on the prank
yeah.
movie in a really cool, creative way, very surprising way. Super fun. That's on Netflix. Tick Tick Boom, which is a really cool. That's the Oscar contender. Andrew Garfield's up for Oscar for that film. I would love it if he won. He's amazing in the movie. Um, the the film is a really interesting musical. I think the reason it's not higher is just because the music didn't really grab me as much as I think it should have for me to really enjoy it. But it is a really interesting film. And I
Yeah.
think if you like musicals, totally, absolutely watch it. Netflix movie. Number 22, Val, which is a A24 documentary about Val Kilmer. That
That
was
looked really
surprisingly very,
interesting.
very emotional, very cool. Val Kilmer, it's compilated from all these cool footage of Val Kilmer that he shot on the course of his career on sets and stuff like that. And it's a really interesting film. Val Kilmer is a really interesting guy. He's going through a lot right now, and so it was really, really interesting portrait of a legend, legendary actor. Um, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, absolutely awesome Marvel movie that came out this year. Incredibly fun.
Yeah, one of the first one, another big movie that brought people back into the theaters, being
yeah,
the first Marvel movie in a minute.
yes, yes. I had so much fun with that movie. Nobody, that's a incredible action movie starring Bob Odenkirk, and I honestly think it's extremely underrated. It's super fun. Christopher Lloyd and RZA. You want to see a movie where Bob Odenkirk, Christopher Lloyd, and RZA find a bunch of people in a warehouse? Watch that movie. Uh, awesome. It's such a fun movie. Last Night in Soho, which is number 19. Yeah, I know, low.
Damn.
I
Damn.
really enjoyed this movie a lot. The ending just left me kind of cold. Uh, I think the twist was just not as, um, I don't know, just left me rubbed me a little bit the wrong way, just because
I
the
get
story
that.
was
Yeah.
so unpredictable throughout, and the ending just disappointed me. But it is a very, really good underwrite movie that everybody should see because there are some ridiculously incredible sequences in it that I haven't stopped thinking about since I saw it. Um, Number 18, Spencer, a really great drama about Princess Diana. This is on Hulu for people who don't know. Kristen
And
Stewart,
that's with Christian Stewart.
yes, she plays
Yeah.
Princess Diana. I really hope she wins an Academy Award for this. She's absolutely amazing in it. Incredible cinematography. Being a royal sucks. Johnny Greenwood's a god. Watch that movie. It's awesome. Number 17, Possessor. Incredibly awesome horror movie.
Wait, that's a 2021 film?
I think
Oh, I
so.
forgot.
Like,
I
it
forgot
came
about
out
that one's kind
like
of weird.
yeah, I think it's technically a 2020, but it came out on digital, and like most people saw it in 2021. Because it came out
Okay.
like
Yeah.
February or something on Hulu. Such an awesome movie. Um, Over time, I think it's kind of less a little. The more Cronenberg, David Cronenberg things I see, the more David Cronenberg influence I see in that movie. So it's a little
Yeah.
like it's definitely a cheat code. Being David Cronenberg's son,
Yeah.
definitely a cheat code. But I mean, I'm not complaining. It's a super fun movie, and I really want to watch it again. I don't know why I haven't. Um, Number 16, Spider-Man: No Way Home. Incredible Marvel
Just
movie.
below 15 slot.
Yeah,
So
one of my
close.
favorite Marvel movies in quite some time for for obvious reasons. It's incredible. Really well written, surprisingly. Yes. Does it look like a Marvel movie? Is it shot like a bland ass blockbuster? Yeah. But it's super fun and it's Spider-Man. So
It's fucking Spider-Man.
15, Quiet Place 2, incredible thriller. God damn, it's so good. It's so tight. I'm so surprised that this like isn't like more people aren't talking about Quiet Place Part 2. It is so good. And it's just back to like old school filmmaking. Like movies like this do not come out anymore. Just these big budget, simple thrillers. They just don't come out. And it is awesome that we have this franchise that I can rely on for good thriller, a true good horror thriller shit. I can't wait for part three if he is making a part three. I don't know.
You're here.
Or 14, come on, a really great A24 Mike Mills film for Joaquin Phoenix and a cute kid that I can't remember his name. This
But
is
he's
just a
cute.
really quiet, poignant look at journalism and a relationship between an uncle and a nephew. Absolutely beautiful. One of the most awesome Joaquin Phoenix performances. He's so sweet and good-hearted, and it's really cool to see Joaquin Phoenix play a character like that. He hasn't done that since Her. He plays pretty crazy fucking people, so it's pretty cool to see him literally just be a sweet uncle in this movie, and it's very great. Number 13, Dune. Awesome movie.
What?
Dune.
Wait, 13?
So, yeah, Dune.
13?
13.
What other movies are there? I'm
I'll
so
tell
curious.
you.
13.
13. Incredible. I love Doom. I think it's nearly perfect. I think the only reason it's not higher is that it doesn't end. So it is not the most satisfying movie experience I've ever had. Like when it ends, you're blue balled. I mean, you got some big blue balls at the end of that movie, which I understand, but I think I'm gonna really appreciate that film when we have the full trilogy or the full scope of what Denis Villeneuve is trying to do. But this first part is absolutely masterful. Masterful. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
But it's like Fellowship without Two Towers or the Return of the King.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so that's probably why it's not as like satisfying an experience to me. Um Number 12, West Side Story, Steven Spielberg. I don't know who this guy is. I think this is his first film, Steven
Yeah.
Spielberg. Uh he knows
Small
how to
name,
direct
small
a
guy.
movie. He's
Yeah.
really good at directing movies. This is easily one of the best directed movies of 2021. It is just the first shot alone is absolutely stunning. This is one of the best remakes I've ever seen in my fucking life. And I I remember watching the original when I was young, didn't really care about it, I was just like, whatever, I didn't get anything out of it. This one, just completely blew me away. I thought Spielberg, what he did with this was absolutely incredible. And goddamn, it looks so good. I don't know if it's nominated for best cinematography, but I hope it wins because it is stunningly beautiful film. Number 11, Flea, which is this amazing animated
Oh, that animated film.
documentary on
Yeah.
Hulu that I found to be incredibly powerful, not just because of the documentary subject, um, which I don't want to spoil it for people. It definitely, I would say watch the movie not knowing anything. I think you'll get more out of it. Um, Not only is it unique in like the documentary subject of what it's about, but the way that it's told. I've never seen a documentary like this. It's animated, it's an animated documentary, meaning like even the quote unquote like reality, a lot of it you see the story that he's telling in animation form, and then some of it is supposed to be like reality, like him getting interviewed and stuff, and that's also animated. So there's
Wow.
it's a really interesting uh documentary that I've never seen anything like it, and it's super powerful. Made me cry. It's great. It's amazing. If you're into queer cinema, Please, for the love of God, watch Flea. It's absolutely amazing.
I'm motivated. I'm gonna watch it.
Those are all my lists, and then I have the top club.
That was a hell of an honorable mention list. I forgot about most of those. I'm glad you mentioned all of them. All right. So should we start with, maybe I'll do my 10.
Yeah, let's start with number 10, baby.
Number 10. So my number 10, my list is definitely influenced by the not seeing a large volume of films, and it's also definitely based on just my personal reaction. So like films like Power of the Dog or Pig are definitely good, or T-Tane are all good enough to be top 10 material, but just like personal preference. Always, that's the bias that we're talking about here.
Exactly.
My number 10 is a film called Cryptozoo, who's
I know what that is.
It's by a director named Dash Shaw, and it's this very, very weird animated film. He made another film called My Entire High School Sinking into the Sea, which is on Netflix, or was on Netflix, which I love that film to death. And this was his second film he made. He made both of these films with him and his wife. His wife was the animator and he was the director. Cryptozoo was really cool and really wild. And if you have the chance to see it, which it's on Hulu, you should, because I doubt you'll see a lot of stuff like it.
Yeah.
The story was not as strong as Entire High School Sinking into the Sea, and the characters were kind of wooden and somewhat unlikable at times. And it was a lot of times just driven by. So it's a story about the main character works at the zoo, which collects cryptids essentially. And she works for this rich billionaire fanatic who is obsessed with preserving and bringing the cryptids into the human world and, intermingling the two. And so they built this theme park where these cryptids could have a job and a home to live in. And the story is sort of about like the hate that goes against cryptids, the discrimination against cryptids, and then the complication about like cryptids being like, well, you're trying to help us, but you're also putting us on like consumer capitalist display in this amusement park for humans. So it's like some really interesting, weird developments, but like the story tones just like really detracts from like what this film could have been. But it's there's so much potential. Really unique and wild film though. I think everyone should try it.
Cool. My number 10 is Pig. I love this film. This is one of those things that when I first saw it, I loved it. But as the year went on, it just kept coming up. It kept coming up like in my head. It kept coming up like when I caught the movies of the year. It just was, first of all, it's an incredibly unpredictable movie in the sense of like what it was about, which is very shocking and very different than I think what a lot of people thought when they went into the movie, which I love. And it is just an amazingly beautiful portrayal of grief. And there's a lot of movies like this, but I think what stands out about Pig is the almost like the sensitivity that the filmmaker treats that subject. And there's a lot of filmmakers that make movies about the subject, but make the whole film dreary and not fun to watch. The thing about Pig is that, I mean, this movie made me cry. I mean, Pig is, the ending of the movie knocked me like a ton of bricks. I thought it was incredibly powerful. But the thing is that the movie's funny. It has really good sense of humor to it, and it's a really interesting film about also the culinary world, which is completely unique. I've never really seen a movie tackle culinary arts like that in film ever, or a critique of it. I've seen movies about, like Chef, for example, John Favreau's Chef, which is an amazing film, but it's super lighthearted film about the culinary life. But this was like a critique of like boozy culinary life, which I love. And Nicolas Cage did an incredible performance. I mean, I was mad when he was snubbed for Academy Award. It seems like that he was snubbed for tons of awards, and He's amazing.
Yeah.
He's absolutely fantastic in it. And this has become now the prime example of if you think that Nicolas Cage is just a joke actor or good in just garbage movies, watch this movie, and if you still think that, I don't know what to fucking tell you.
Yeah.
He's absolutely incredible in this movie, and that Wolf is also Alex. Is it that Wolf or Alex Wolf? I think Alex Wolf is in this movie.
Yeah,
I
the guy
think
from Hereditary. Yeah.
yes.
Son.
He's absolutely amazing in it too. I just was really taken aback by this movie. I think part of it was just the unexpectedness. I don't know where the film was going, but I was so satisfied of what it turned out to be. Because I remember, like, when the trailer came out, everybody was clowning on it because it looked like a fucking Taken with Nicolas Cage going to get his pig back. But
Yeah.
instead, it's this incredibly heartwarming, heartbreaking drama that, like, I mean, did kind of the impossible. Really, because it was an insane plot like that that could have easily fallen into that. You know, with Nicolas Cage as your star, you could have easily fell into that movie. But the way that the filmmaker just towed that line and made this beautiful film about grief and loss, it just and dealing with it, it was just a really powerful movie experience for me in 2021. And like something that I was super surprised that I kept thinking about as the year went on, you know. So yeah, Pig is on Hulu. If you haven't seen it, if you're in the mood for something kind of heavy, check that out. I think it's excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. Yeah, we're definitely in sort of a resurging golden era of Nick Cage's career. He's
Yes,
really
we
pulling
are, and
out
I am so
some
happy for it.
he's
So
just
here for it.
he's doing some kick-ass performances
Yeah,
lately, and it's really cool to see because
yeah.
he's a veteran
He's
legendary actor.
listen. He's a national treasure. He's a national
Yeah.
treasure.
Yeah.
Get it? Pun? Anybody? But he really is. He
All
is.
right.
He is one of the greatest actors of our time. He really is.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. And Pig's a good one. My number nine, another kind of weird choice, maybe to some, but it's The Witcher: Nightmare of the Wolf, which is sort
The
of just
hell is
like this
that?
weird. It's an action, not action. It's an animate. It is an action film, but it's an animated film that Netflix produced that is a take on the Witcher story.
Oh, okay.
Do you know The Witcher at all? The
I
story.
watched the first season of The Witcher on
Okay.
Netflix.
I'm not a huge fan of the game. I'm not a huge fan.
Yeah,
I don't know. I haven't read the books. I don't really like this TV show with Henry Cavill. It's
yeah.
fine. I'm just not that into it. So I wasn't really I kind of watched this because Eva was into the original the series with Henry Cavill.
Mhm.
And I really like 2D hand-drawn animation.
Yeah.
I'm really into that. And that's what this film was. And I
Right.
thought it was a show, and it turned out to be a movie, so it caught me really off guard.
Mhm.
And this follows Vesemir, who is what is the guy's name?
Cool main
Whatever,
character.
yeah,
The Witcher.
Henry Cavill, and yeah,
Geralt.
the
Geralt.
Witcher. Geralt,
Geralt.
yeah, Geralt. Yeah, we follow
Geralt the
Vesemir, who's
Riviera
Geralt's
or
mentor.
something.
Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
fact
But
that I
we follow
know that.
so this is a prequel to Geralt's story,
Oh, okay.
essentially, and you're
Yeah, yeah.
following Vesemir and sort of the some of the lore of The Witcher. And I was really surprised by how good and cool the story was and the
Mhm.
sequences. And I'm just a huge fan of animated fantasy films with
Yeah.
magic and
I
stuff.
kind of glad that I
And it
didn't see a lot
really,
of animated films this year. I don't know what
yeah,
happened.
there definitely wasn't a lot of 2D films that came out. There's not a lot of 2D
There's
feature
never,
films that come
never
out
2D
anymore.
animated movies. Yeah.
So that's another reason why I think this film really resonated with me in
Yeah.
probably a deeper way than most people, just because 2D animation is just so close to my heart. And it was really cool to see a new thing.
Yeah.
That was sort of a series that I've always wanted to like The Witcher, but I've never really kind of gotten into it. So it was cool to sort of have this that I was like, oh, I actually really like this. And
Yeah.
this is a cool fantasy story.
Cool.
So I think I haven't really heard a lot of people talking about it. I don't think it got a lot of
No,
buzz
no,
around it.
yeah.
I don't know if it was just sort of like a first time watch experience that really resonated with me. If like rewatching it,
Yeah.
it'd be kind of like mellowed out. But I think you should watch that too. It's on
Yeah.
Netflix. I thought it was really good and really, really fun.
Cool. Um, okay, this is a controversial one, for some people, and I'm gonna have to explain myself.
Okay.
Number nine is Licorice Pizza. Um, this is the new film by Paul Thomas Anderson. And this film is, I'm gonna try to be calm about this.
Yeah.
Because I get really worked up talking about this movie. This is one of the most controversial movies of 2021. If you go on film Twitter or film TikTok or any cinephile pockets of the internet, this movie is maybe the most talked about movie that's not Spider-Man of the year. It's being discussed a lot for various reasons. And there's things about this film that I wanted to absolutely love this movie. I mean, Paul Thomas Anderson is maybe my favorite filmmaker. He's somebody who is inspiring me constantly. I love his films. Some of his films are so near and dear to my heart that I'm a little biased when I go into a PTA movie, you know? I think a lot of people are, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's such a iconic filmmaker. And he hasn't really made a bad movie, ever. And I think that I really like Licorice Pizza, and there's things about it that I don't like. There's things about the controversy that I do agree with. Namely, I don't want to get too deep into it because I know you haven't seen it yet, but there's um, a racist character in the movie that he's supposed to be racist. And it's not like PTA. It's just like it's like, oh, he's racist. Oh, I didn't know that. No, he's a racist character in the movie, and he's kind of played as like a joke, which I have no problem with. It just didn't come off very funny, and I think kind of came off the wrong way. And a lot of people are um taking that and running with that, like, you know, he's Paul Thomas Anderson's racist against Asian people and things like
Mm,
that. No,
mm.
he's not. It just missed the mark. He had good intentions of whatever he was doing. It just missed the mark. So that's one thing that I do agree with. I do think that it's such a small element, but there's that element that did run me the wrong way. And what most people are talking about is the the relationship in the movie, which is with a 25-year-old girl and a 17-year-old boy. And there's a lot of talk about that. And all I'm really going to say about it is that the controversy literally comes down to just the idea of that is wrong, and so you shouldn't see the movie. Which I find to be just so far from progressive. It's like it's to me, this movie was the relationship between Alana Haim's character and Cooper Hoffman. I found to be incredibly sweet, and it's not like it's a sexual relationship. It's not like it's not like they're, you know, it's that's part of the experience of the movie is that PTA, and another movie I'm going to talk about later, PTA is not telling you that these characters that this is wrong or this is right. They're just characters, and you're supposed to observe them and with the story.
Yeah.
He's not, and I
Yeah.
think what's happening is that there's a lot of films today, like Don't Look Up, that tell you what you should be feeling. The movie is constantly telling you, hey, climate change is bad. Hey, this is bad. And that's like a lot of movies come out. So when a movie comes out like this that is um like showing a abnormal relationship, like, and it's not telling you that it's abnormal, it's letting the audience like, you know, actually have an opinion and form an opinion about the film. I think people are just like, what? You know, and they go immediately towards the wrong thing. And I get if like you did feel uncomfortable watching this, but that's also like that's part of the movie. Like it's I don't know. The controversy behind it to me was just I really just didn't feel that. And like it's not like part of the movie is that she is dating a 17-year-old. It's not like this like thing that's just never brought up and like this thing that it's like that's part of her character. And this movie is
Yeah.
kind of a movie about a lost 20-year-old. Someone who is um just lost and has no real direction in her life. And she finds this person and this really eccentric, confident character in Cooper Hoffman, and they strike this relationship. And what the movie is actually, I found to be incredibly interesting is that these are two characters that shouldn't be together. And this is something that, this movie is incredibly well reviewed too. And the controversy just seems kind of this weird pocket of the internet. But one of the things that's been talked about a lot about the film is how kind of related to Punch Drunk Love is this like cosmic um I don't even know how to describe it. With PTA's romance movies, he has this incredible vibe of like this weird cosmic energy that kind of radiates as you watch the movie. And the only way I can describe it is almost like these two characters, the whole film is kind of about them being attracted to each other, finding each other throughout various portions, like various times in their life, and going away because they know that they can't be together. They're like, you're 17, like I can't be hanging out with you, you know. And what's interesting is that the cosmos keep bringing them together. And what this film is kind of about to me is this idea of soulmates and this idea of a perfect person for you, and the idea of not just not just sexually or romantically, just in a relationship. They don't have sex in this movie. This movie is not a sexual movie whatsoever. It's really a movie about two friends that come together and find each other, and that are two lost souls that are trying to find each other in this 1970s San Fernando Valley backdrop. And this film's incredibly funny. It's incredibly lighthearted. It's this amazingly beautiful shot movie. PTA 70 millimeter. He recreated that San Fernando Valley in the 1970s. Um, it just is. It reminds me a lot of the Hangout movie. It reminds me a lot of like Dazed and Confused and things like that. It's very interesting in that way. I love this film. I totally understand if you watch this and you are turned off by it and you are creeped out by it and you're just like, I don't like it. And that's totally fine. This is not a film that is, like I said, is telling you what to feel. And if you feel that way, PTA is like got on record and being interviewed with this movie and like he's been asked about the controversy and stuff, and his response is literally like, okay, like I made this movie, this is my intentions, but if you feel that way, cool. I mean, I'm okay. Like,
Yeah.
and he just finds that interesting. So, like, I don't really think that this movie is problematic in really any way, except for that racist element that I think is unintentional. I don't think it was his intention. It just came off that way, unfortunately. Um, but this is a movie that is worth seeing. It is incredibly interesting and really PTA. And so I really like Licorice Pizza, but I totally understand if this is like if you're appalled by if you saw it and you are listening to this and you're appalled by my choice, I am sorry. I really like this movie. I apologize. I tried to explain kind of the reasoning for it. I saw this movie a while ago, so kind of fresh in my mind, but um yeah, I mean, that's all I can really say about it. I really
Well,
enjoyed it, but
well,
um,
you motivated me to watch it yet again. Every time you talk about it, it just makes me really wish I've seen it.
yeah,
And that's the thing. I'm really sad that I didn't see that movie because PTA is a fantastic director who I just love, 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 and that's a film that it's a historical tragedy that I did not
Yeah.
see it in theaters. It sounded like I was crying because of that, which it is. It's worth crying over because it's a PTA movie in theaters. But
Yeah.
anyways, well said. Um, number 8, right?
Mhm.
My number 8 is Mitchell's versus the Machines.
Nice.
This is a really, really cool animated film.
Yeah, it's really
The
fun.
same guys who made the Spider-Verse, and
Yeah.
they did another technical innovation. This movie looks crazy. It's
Yeah.
insane. Like
Yeah.
the type of stuff that they do in this film. It's just a really cool blending of what we can do with 3D animation technology combined with a whole bunch of other weird techniques piled on top of it, like this, like what they do in Borderlands, like they do
Hmm.
that in Mitchell and Machines, which, and it looks really cool,
Yeah.
and it has just such a unique atmosphere.
Yeah.
I think the story is really fun and all of the characters are fantastic.
Yeah.
The overall sort of like plot and progression is like, I think the beginning and setup is way stronger than how it
Yeah.
ends, which is a lot of times how I feel about movies, where it's just like, oh, this is a really cool setup, and
Yeah.
they just don't quite get that emotional sort of resolution in the
Yeah.
end. It
I think I
works
would say
on
the ending
paper.
is literally exactly what you think it's gonna be when you watch the
Yes.
movie. It's exactly what you think it's gonna be. So
Yeah, so it's not really that exciting in
yeah.
terms of story based on the
I will
ending,
say though,
but
I think my favorite aspect of that film is kind of the emotional core of the movie. I love the main character of that movie, and her being a filmmaker and her making these cool films, and her wanting to make, be a director, and I love that aspect of the movie a lot. I thought
yeah.
that was incredibly fun.
Yeah, the main character was really, really strong.
He's
there
really
was
great.
no there was no weak performances at all. every
Well,
single every single line was really, really well done and
really
really well.
snappy and funny, and yeah,
Yeah, all the way through. It's just like, just write a little bit more interesting situations to put these fantastic characters in,
yeah,
just like, especially like near the ending. It's just like, I feel like I've seen a lot of this before, and you just have there's just the potential to do
hmm,
something absolutely crazy. But again, I don't know how many movies these guys are making. I don't know how many movies they're
yeah,
planning on making, but if they, on the trajectory that they're going on, I'm
right,
expecting like a few more masterpieces out of this
yeah.
production studio, because Mitchell and Machines
Well,
was
it's
it was
Sony, which is
fabulous overall.
really bizarre because Sony, for the longest time, made like the most garbage animated movies ever made, like the
Yeah.
Emoji movie. Uh, and so I don't know what happened. I guess like so they hired some people, new people in Sony Animation, and made Spider Verse, and then made this, and making the new Spider Verse movie that comes out this year, and
Yeah, I mean, if we look at
crazy.
patterns of history, sometimes you can look at a really garbage film being kind of an indicator of something really good
Yeah.
happening, because you fire
Yeah, I mean that was like
everybody.
bottom of the fucking barrel. I mean,
Yeah,
one of the worst blunders in cinematic history of the Emoji movie.
yeah.
So yeah, I
And
would
then
assume that everybody got fired.
and what happens like after that, and I think what this like dynamic might be with the studio, or a couple other cases, for example, like Halo and Shrek, where there's
Hmm.
some disaster that happens in a studio, and then they just kind of crapshoot and give like some artists free
Yeah,
reign. Let me underline free reign, creative control. They let
yeah,
them
right,
do what they want.
right,
They create a masterpiece, and then
yeah,
the studio's like, that's great, and then they
yeah,
studio it until it becomes bad again, and then the
right.
cycle repeats, and we get new innovators
Or
make something great.
yeah, or like the producers say the movie is either being made for a business decision, like the Emoji movie, where it's like
Mm-hmm.
capitalizing on cell phone culture, and it's like the idea of the movie was, or like the product of the movie was, it was a product idea, instead of like an actual story that could be
Story.
fucking
Yeah.
told.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think the reason that I just didn't pop off with me for me as much is like I kind of wish I saw it in theaters. Just watching it on Netflix just felt weird to me. Like I don't know why. It was such a creative, colorful animated film that I feel like it kind of took away just watching on my laptop and like bed. It kind of broke my heart a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I get it was the pandemic, and I get they probably that movie would have done really well to put out in theaters. I'm almost certain. But like I don't know. I think like I honestly like I forgot about that movie like so quickly, and that might have just because of the streaming aspect to it, where these streaming movies they come and go, which is like one of the worst parts about streaming, in my opinion, is that
Well, it was also a really bad time still because of the
I
pandemic
don't even
because
remember when
everyone
it
was
came out. When did it come out?
well, I think it was during like the dry period of 2021.
Yeah,
Like it came
yeah, it
out
was definitely early. Yeah, for sure.
and the problem with like while movies were coming out during the pandemic is that people were so bored that they would watch literally everything that came out. So as soon
Yeah,
as you finish watching Mitchell and Machines, you'd like boot up like Friends and watch that again after you finish that.
right.
So it was like one of those movies that was in like this endless content of nothing
Yeah,
happening and it just kind of got lost in that, which
right.
I think it's way better than like the normal drivel, and it's
Oh,
a really
absolutely.
unique
Yeah,
movie. But I agree with you; it just kind of got lost
yeah,
in that, and it's just like a shame because I think
yeah.
that was a rough patch
Well, I
in
think it's a
cinematic
really,
history.
really good movie that I think like if it were if it wasn't a pandemic, I think more money would be behind it. I saw no trailers, no promotion, no anything for it too. Like that was another big thing. I didn't even know that that was even a movie until it came
Yeah,
out on Netflix. I was like, what is this? Like I had no idea what it was.
yeah,
Because I just saw no marketing whatsoever for it.
yeah.
So
On
I
the
just
on
kind of I didn't watch it for a while because it was
yeah.
like I was like it seemed like just a movie that Netflix like just shoved on there. It was just like a bad kids movie that they just like made and just like shoved it on there.
Yeah, right.
That's what it seemed like. So I didn't watch it for a while. And then when I finally did, I was like, wow, it's great. So
Yeah, yeah. I want to rewatch it too and see kind of how like watching the story again and maybe noticing some more of the nuances. Because I think after sort of getting that first viewing of the story out of my system and kind of being prepared for the things I don't like, I'll be able to appreciate more of things like the set design, the
yeah,
soundtrack, the like the
sure,
nuances to it, which I think this film has like tenfold. You know,
yeah.
I've been this is really popular on animator Twitter,
Oh really?
as they're kind of like going through it and seeing some of the behind the scenes and the process behind it.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Really cool stuff.
Spider-Verse. They made Spider-Verse. Spider-Verse
Yeah,
is
a
crazy
mind-blowing
detailed.
film,
Yeah, I mean,
mind
it's
blowing.
ridiculous. And this
Yeah,
this new one seems like it's going to be even more mind-blowing, which is crazy.
yeah.
Hearing some things about that, which is wild. Um, okay, yeah, cool. So that was
That was
eight.
number 8. Yep, that was my
Number
8.
eight is Nightmare Alley. This
Mm-hmm.
movie kicks so much ass. And I'm so happy that I think people are starting to see it and starting to. I'm just seeing more people talk about it, especially people that I know and like people on Twitter and discussion. So I'm glad that I got nominated for a couple Oscars. That just because it will help the movie get seen, which is always a good thing. It's the only good thing about the Academy Awards if they get it right. Where if they nominate an actual good movie that is unseen, like Nightmare Alley that not enough people saw. Um, like that's a win, And this film kicks ass. This is an awesome film noir, directed by the guy, uh, Guillermo del Toro, and the set design, the story, the performances, it all felt like I was watching fucking something from 1955, and it was so classic in that way, When something like this comes out in this day and age with that huge budget. That movie's $100 million movie, and movies like that with that budget just don't come out anymore. And when they do, you just have to. I like. I run. I'm like, yes, this is what I want. This is what I need. You know. And this film is so great. It's so classic. It's so moody. We did a whole review for it. It's it's really really great. And Bradley Cooper gives one of the best performances I've ever seen from him. I also think he's amazing in Licorice Pizza. I mean, that's that, but his whole subplot Licorice Pizza is fucking incredible. It's amazing. It's unbelievably good. And yeah, so Bradley Cooper killed it this year. Just saying that. He's amazing in Nightmare Alley. All the other performances are amazing. Kate Blanchett, Rooney Mara, Willem Dafoe, Ron Perlman. cast is incredible. It's just a really interesting film. It had such an awesome ending too that I still think about. It's amazing. It's a really powerful, cool ass noir, which I need
Hell
more of.
yeah.
More of, please, please.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll be talking more about Nightmare Alley in just a second.
Oh yeah.
So that was it's not it's my 6. My 7
Nice.
though. My 7 is Last Night. No. My 7 is Quiet Place 2. My 7 is
Nice. Oh
Quiet Place
yeah,
2.
yeah, yeah,
I saw this. I can't remember if I saw this in theaters. But I saw it. I definitely saw it. I probably would remember if I saw it in theaters. Actually, I did see it in theaters. And
I
I
saw it
saw it in
3 times in
theaters.
theaters.
When I saw it in theaters, there was this air conditioning unit going on. And A Quiet Place 2 is such a quiet movie that the quiet things it was really agitating to have that air conditioner unit going on during the super quiet thing. So that was a really annoying thing on the theater side, that they would not turn off their air conditioning unit. But
I've never even heard
regardless,
of anything like
I never had that happen to me before. I don't know if all other movies are just so loud you don't hear it, but
just a little side note, when I went saw Batman, I don't know if I told you this the first time, there was a light bulb above me that was flickering the whole time.
oh
It
god,
was,
that's manic.
thought I was going crazy. I couldn't, I was watching the movie, I was like, what's wrong with my eyes? Because it kept like flickering and shit, and I finally looked up, I was like, oh my god.
This is it's insane. Yeah, movie theater mishaps suck. But
They really do.
Quiet Place 2 is really, really good. It's
so
really,
good.
really good. It's such an intense and thrilling movie. It's such a original idea that's so refreshing to have original stories and movies that are
giant budget too. You know?
Yeah, with a giant budget behind it. Funny enough, like, this is one of my favorite parts about this movie is like the flashback scenes, which a lot of times is not are the weakest parts of movies.
The opening of the film is awesome. It's one of the best openings to like a blockbuster I've seen in a long time. Like, it's so exciting.
I thought it was some of like the best things of Quiet Place 1 and 2. I thought that sequence was just so strong.
Well directed. Who would have thought that John Krasinski could direct the shit out of a movie? Like,
I know,
there are
it's
scenes
amazing.
in that movie where I'm like, dude, like, what was he watching when he did? I mean, he just incredibly well directed.
It seems like a type of thing that he's just had in his mind for like forever. That it's just kind of been sitting there and stewing, and you really feel the complexity. It's just there in the film. It's so cool because it's such a complex and nuanced idea, but it's still so tight and fast paced, and it's so fun to watch.
And not just like that. I think what like really blows me away about the Quiet Place movies too is that they're not just like fun alien thrillers that like provide thrills. There's an emotional like core and like this really like the end of Quiet Place 2 almost made me cry. Like, it was that emotional for me. Because really what the movie's about is about a mother seeing their kids grow up. And the last shot of that movie was so indicative of that to me and like really, really struck me. That aspect to it was so great because you're right, it's so fast paced, there's so much going on. And when a film like a thriller like that ends on this super personal and character note and like really recontextualize kind of what the movie was kind of doing and it kind of slips the rug out from under you, it's amazing. And like, it's not the most complex thing in the world, but that's all you fucking need. All you fucking need, man. Like, I thought of that in the first part too, like this whole trilogy seems like about family, and like that's great. I'm glad that one of the biggest franchises has an idea behind it, not just like this cool world, but the idea of like what it wants to say with these films.
Yeah, absolutely agree. It's that family dynamic that really kind of punches it to the next level, and also what I think some people naysayers, although I don't hear any naysayers for Quiet Place. I haven't gotten any arguments about Quiet Place because it's really good. But like the gimmick about it, where it's like the monsters, you can't talk as much, is actually a really good thing, because it's kind of going back to basics. Because when you're if you're in film school and you're learning about film, what they tell you is like, don't do dialogue, just do a silent movie. And when you are forced to not talk in a film, good shit happens, because it turns into visual storytelling. And guess what? That's what Quiet Place 2 is. That's one of the reasons why it works so well.
One of the things that, like, Quiet Place is such a cool franchise because it's everything that a Hollywood franchise should be. It's like this incredibly original idea. That not only is like original in the sense of, like, we haven't seen aliens like that before, or a world like that, but it enhances like the filmmaking process, which is like the the most perfect idea. I mean, if I'm being honest with you, I mean, if I was a studio, I mean, I can't believe, if I was a producer and that idea fell in my lap, I would be like, oh, this is amazing. This is incredible. Because if you get a director like Dr. Vinsky, who knows what the fuck he's doing, apparently, with thriller filming, and I love Dr. He's a great actor, but I do not think that he's like, I mean, there is some legit Alfred Hitchcock level suspense.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Of these movies, like, it's really amazing. I figured out the bathtub scene in the first film. I figured out the whole dock sequence in the second film with Cillian Murphy's character and those dock dwellers. Like, that whole scene was absolutely amazing.
Or the shit, like the shit with the radio in Quiet Place 2. That was so Hitchcock.
The ending, the ending scene. Yeah, I mean, it's just incredibly well directed shit, and like that's kind of what I want to see.
Yeah.
And Emily Blunt is absolutely, the acting is
so
amazing.
good. Yeah, she's so good.
Yeah, they're such fun films. I cannot wait if they make a third one. I don't know what the third one would be, but I'm here for it if they make it.
Yeah, that's a thing about this film, sort of what you were talking about with Dune earlier, that I kind of had that feeling with Quiet Place 2, where I loved it, but it was so grabbing to me, where it was just like, or mainly it's that backstory part with John Krasinski in the flashback. It's like, I want to know what the rest of that, and that's going to be in 3, I think. So I'm really excited, and I really hope that, I feel like if he's gonna make a 3, he must have an idea for it. So I really trust that. I always get nervous with endings, because an ending, like example, look at Star Wars, the new Star Wars trilogy. It really messed things up. It messes things up.
The endings of trilogies always are most, like, they have a bad success rate. Most of them are not good.
Yeah. So I'm a little intimidated by that, and I'm really hoping that, I mean, regardless of how good or bad Quiet Place Part 3 is going to be, Quiet Place 2 is standalone fantastic. It's still really super duper strong.
To me is, like, even if they just do make 2, I was pretty satisfied by the ending of the movie. Like, in terms of like the emotional aspect, and like, yeah, sure, there's a lot of open questions about like, first of all, they're still separated. The family is separated at the end of that film, so there are a lot of questions. Like, like, are they gonna get back? Like, what? They're so far separated now. But I was so emotionally satisfied that if they just made 2, like, for some reason they don't make a third, I would be fine with that. Like, okay, it's cool. 2 great movies, but I do want to see a third one though.
Yeah. I think also, it's a really, that's been like a really cool thing about also the Quiet Place thing, is how they've sort of ended each one and just kind of continued on, because Quiet Place 2 started like right where it left off, which is a really cool thing to do, especially for such a fast-paced film like this, where you just kind of get right back into it, which I think is why he ended it right there like that, which is a really cool way to end a film. And I actually think it makes it stronger to end sort of like in the middle of action like that. But it's also like the anticipatory of like getting back onto the ride again. But anyways, Quiet Place 2
Part 2.
Part 2. Quiet Place Part 2.
Yeah, Quiet Place Part 2 is awesome. Number 7 for me is The Power of the Dog.
Hmm.
I love this film. I think this film is so interesting, and we did a whole review of this movie too. This is the movie I'm rooting for at the Academy Awards. The only one that uh, I mean, there's some best picture. I like West Side Story. I like Rally. I like Dune. I like. No, honestly, I like most of the movies that I saw like in the best picture list. Um, but this is the one that I'm rooting for just because of, for one, like I found this to be like an incredibly interesting western. There's there's some controversies that have come out about the actor Sam Elliott. Have you seen this?
Yeah, he's calling it shit, right?
Well,
I
I
didn't
love
read
Sam
that,
Elliott.
but
I'm taking this with a grain of salt. The guy is like, I think he's in his 70s. He's an older guy. But yeah, he said something, he said something on the like a podcast or something. Where he was like, "Yeah, I didn't see that. It was like, why are the Cowboys like basically like I don't want to see this movie. It's about gay cowboys,
oh,
which
that's lame.
is not what the West is like, which is hilarious. Which is so ironic because that's kind of what the fucking movie's about. You fucking
Yeah,
idiot.
right. Yeah,
It's
that's
about
so
this idea of false masculinity.
yeah.
And he haven't he didn't watch it, so yeah. So like okay, um, maybe he would feel differently if he watches the movie.
Yeah.
Um, but that just made me laugh. But
Evie, this
but
is a great piece of advice that keeps coming up on this podcast, and it blows me away how stupid it is. But wait to make your opinions until you have experienced something.
well, yeah, that's kind of the thing that I don't think my licorice pizza rant. I didn't really remember what I said, but that's one of the things I tried to get at was like see
Just
the
watch it
movie.
first. Just
Yeah,
try it.
see the movie. I know it sounds odd, but watch it, and I think you'll realize like, oh, this is not what I thought it was going to be. Not
Yeah.
like a 25-year-old, 17-year-old,
Or it
fucking
is exactly what you
25-year-old
thought
isn't
it could be, and you
right.
could be validated that it's like, I
Yeah,
was
exactly.
right. That will
Right.
feel great, right? It would feel
Yeah,
so
right.
good if you're
Or
right.
see, yeah, just see it. Yeah. See it no matter what.
Yeah.
Uh, and yeah, but the Power of the Dog, like, it has one of my favorite performance of the year. Then the Cumberbatch absolutely is mesmerizing. Who I've never seen him do a performance like that. He's such an asshole. He's so charismatic. He's so interesting of a character. Uh, R.I.P. Bronco Henry. Uh,
Bronco Henry.
I just think that this film is so interesting and like has a lot of interesting things to say about obviously when I was mentioning false masculinity, toxic masculinity, what will you do for your mother, things like that that I just found to be it was also super surprising. I didn't really know what this movie was, and I was really surprised at how much it got its teeth into me, and like how much I really enjoyed it. And Johnny Greenwood, please, Academy, just give him an Oscar. Can you just do it,
I can't
please?
believe they haven't done that
Just
yet.
stop. I mean, what are y'all doing? I
Has he
mean,
been nominated?
yeah, I think he
Okay.
was on for Phantom Thread, and
Not There Will Be Blood. He wasn't nominated for There Will Be
no,
Blood.
that's a big controversy.
That's
Yeah, that
so
was a big
dumb.
controversy. So when that movie came out, we'll find it. You gotta agree with music and Power of God is absolutely incredible. And Spencer, by the way. But he he was ill eligible for There Will Be Blood because of Academy bullshit reasons. It was like he's part of like a band. I think that was like kind of it was the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I honestly I can't really remember. I'll have to look it up again.
Oh, that's
But it
so
was so he
silly.
was ill eligible, and I can't remember why. But I think it
Yeah.
had it might I if I remember it connected to Radiohead in some way. Um, but yeah,
That's
I
so
love the
silly.
music in this movie. I love all the performances. Jane Jane Campion, not Champion. I kept calling her that. Jane Campion.
Campion. Yeah, no
C-A-P.
CH. I probably called her
Um,
champion too.
I
Sorry.
think that she
Sorry.
directed a really interesting western. Yeah, I really like this. I really love this movie, and I'm rooting for it. Go,
Go.
go all the way, baby.
Go, Power of the Dog,
Yeah, I'll be
go.
happy for that. But
Yeah. It was a cool it
yeah,
was cool. It was super unique film. Okay. Number 7. No, 6.
five or six was
6.
like our alley, right?
No, no, my Nightmare Alley is 5. I have
Oh,
another
okay.
secret. I have a secret 6. I have a secret 6. My 6
Okay.
is Last Night in Soho.
Oh, nice. I'm glad
Um,
that you liked it that much.
I loved
Makes
it.
me happy.
I 100% agree with you that the ending, that the twist is a bit of a bummer.
You know, like a
Um,
lot of people like really don't like Black Lives Matter, right?
what's the reasoning for disliking
I
it?
don't know.
Interesting. I don't really
Like,
understand.
okay, let me just on my letterbox, on like my letterbox friends, um,
Look at the
because this
ratings
is the
for it.
average is 3.5, which is like good, on
Yeah.
letterbox, like just
Oh,
in
out
general.
of 4
Yeah,
or
but all
okay.
my followers, it's like 2, 4 stars, 3 stars, 2.5 stars, 2.5 stars, and 4.5 stars.
Wow.
It's one of
Interesting.
the most divisive things I've ever seen. Um, so I go, oh, and 2.5. So I don't know. I
Yeah.
really am just, I'm actually perplexed. I need to ask somebody who didn't like
Yeah.
it.
I'd be curious about that too. Like I could kind of see it, but for
But like,
me,
not like it, like a little bit, like not even 3 stars.
not even like, yeah, like because like I feel like there's
There
just,
are there's like, to me there's objectively incredible sequences in the movie.
yeah,
Like
I think most of the sequences are incredible. There's like
yeah,
weaker parts, but I feel like most of the sequence are just like really, really well made.
yeah.
So I agree. I find that just really strange that it's kind of a
Maybe it
low
was like maybe
average.
people were just because I was disappointed in the ending, but not so much that like it like ruined the movie. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. But anyway, go ahead. Why do you like it so much?
I liked it. I liked it a lot because Edgar Wright is a real ass director
Yeah.
who will actually do cool shit with movies
Mm-hmm.
instead of just sort of like phone in something. And this is also a real deviation from his normal shtick, and he really did
Yes.
a good ass
Yeah.
job with it. I think one of off the bat, I think maybe this will affect people's opinion of it. I wouldn't really call this a horror movie. It was
No.
really advertised as a horror movie,
Yeah.
but it's more of just like a,
There's definitely horror elements to it.
yeah,
But
there's
yeah.
like some scary, especially at the beginning. I was really uncomfortable because ghosts, I'm kind of embarrassed by
Yeah.
how much ghosts
There's
freak
some
me
crazy
out.
ghosts in it.
But like there's
There's
it's
some
the
cool
beginning,
ghosts in it.
the beginning ghost stuff was really kind of got me
I liked
pretty
it.
good.
I love that. I
I was
love the
pretty
beginning of that.
unsettled.
Yeah, yeah,
Um so but overall I would call it more of like a mystery
yeah.
thriller with like a supernatural sort of
Yeah, I
twist
agree
to
with
it.
you.
So I think it's
Yeah.
not, I think he's kind of pushing the horror a little bit too hard and should just
Yeah.
lean to it being more of like this creepy
That's more
thriller.
about like the marketing of it.
Yeah.
Like,
So maybe that's kind of like rubbing people the wrong way. It's like that wasn't really that scary or
mhm,
whatever it was. It's like, okay, yeah, sure, but like there's
right.
actually a story here, which most films
Yeah.
don't have in this garbage ass universe
And
that we're living in right now.
I wonder if you agree with me on this, but that film, one of the reasons that I really, really enjoy it is that um it's it's referencing a genre of movie that I think a lot of people just don't like, just aren't aware of, which is like kind of these like almost like pseudo sexual kind of thrillers and these like I think about films with like Brian De Palma and things like that that
Mhm.
were like Dress to Kill and things like that, which I think not a lot of movies and it I think Soho also has a B movie, like a B horror movie type vibe to me a little bit, which I think a lot of mainstream audiences just aren't privy to, and like that vibe of it, which is definitely something about it that makes it unique, in my opinion. And I could kind of pick up on like kind of the influences that are going in it, and there are different influences. It's not like this. It's hard to pin down. I think
Yeah.
it's what you're kind of getting at. It's hard
Yeah.
to categorize it.
Yeah, that's, I think that's definitely one of the reasons that I love that so much
Yeah,
about kind of how it blends all these things of history while also still being really new and unique and fresh to me,
yeah.
because I loved the way
I love
that
the set design
uh,
of that movie.
yeah, the set design is beautiful,
Oh,
and
so good.
I love the way that Edgar Wright blended sort of sexual harassment and assault with horror, and
Yes.
really just leaning into that just the
Which is,
idea.
yeah, been around forever. you know?
Yeah, but he did it in a way where it wasn't like sexual assault and horror. It was like the sexual assault was the horror, which
Yes.
was that was
Yes.
different to me,
Yes.
which was really cool. And I
Yes.
think one of the reasons why that felt so different and worked so well was the main character was she was so strong. I
Yeah,
liked
probably
her
because he was
so
incredible in the movie.
much.
Yeah.
And I think her character,
I
one of
love
the
all the performances in the movie.
yeah, they're all really, really amazing. And I thought she was so good because she was such a good representation of like people our age living in
Yes, I
that
totally
world.
agree with you.
I
Yeah.
haven't really seen a good representation of like someone like of
Mm-hmm.
our generation being in a type of movie like that and sort of having that inner
That's true.
complex, which
Yeah.
it wasn't like she was overseeing it, sort of like how in Scream was, where they were trying really hard to be hip to the generation.
Sure.
She just was a kid who
Yeah.
lives in this generation. It really felt
That is
like
super nostalgic to the 50s. This is a major part of the plot of the movie.
yeah, and I thought that was like a really cool
Which
blend
is
and
such a
also
cool thing because I think a lot of people our age, especially with like things like the 80s and things like that, are so caught up in the past, you know, and so
yeah,
caught up in these things that we wish we lived in a different time. Which, what I love about this movie, I think I'm texting you, is like the idea of like, you know, she's obsessed with the 50s. She loves the music. She loves the clothes. Like the fashion that she's designing are very. I love that parallel too. That she was what these greens that she's going into, going back to the 50s. It inspired her art, which I thought was a really cool thing that was happening. You know,
yeah,
but um. Like the idea of like you think that you want to live in this time, and then you realize like, oh, that time was terrible. Like that time
yeah,
was awful.
yeah,
And it's like the idea of like nostalgia coming to like kill you, you know, like which I
yeah,
just thought was so awesome, you know, and something that I've never seen a movie tackle ever really like that, you know. I could maybe think of a few, but I'd have to sit down and think about it. But yeah, that was probably the coolest aspect to me about it, like
yeah.
thematically.
And I think that this film will also continue to age well because I think it's sort of
Yeah,
its uniqueness and like special qualities and sort of fresh take on sort of old ideas will really become more apparent as time goes on, and it will I think it will last the storm more than a lot
yeah,
of movies that might get a lot more acclaim like that came out around it. I think this
right.
movie will stick around a lot more. Maybe it'll just stick around because Edgar Wright has a bunch of other films and people will be like, oh, this film's interesting, and it'll just be kind of like this
Oh,
weird
I
film in
mean,
his
Edgar Wright is
filmography. But
one of the most interesting filmmakers working today. That's 100% gonna happen. You know, I mean, people are you know discovering auteur like you know auteur filmmakers. You know, today they're discovering smaller films that maybe didn't get as much notoriety as they did when they first came out. You know, and I can totally see that happening with this film. Um, yeah, I'm glad we have it so high because I did have a lot of fun with it, you know, and I
yeah,
was just
yeah,
so disappointed to see the response to it.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I that is a bummer to me too. But at the end of the day, I just care that I like it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I liked it a lot, and I think you should watch it too, and not like it if you want. But I guess I don't know. I
Yeah.
feel like you're missing out.
Um, Number six for me, I don't know the movie. I don't care. It's Bo Burnham's Inside.
Yeah.
This thing is this thing's brilliant. This was like mind blowing upon impact. You know, like when it came out and saw it, it was like fucking mind blowing. Um, I'm sure if you're listening to this, I'm sure you've seen it. I'm sure you've heard about it. I'm almost certain that you've seen it. And if you haven't, it's on Netflix. Please go watch this. This is like a movie comedy special, high art YouTube video, is the way we call it. Um, this thing is absolutely brilliant. And like, I think Bo Burnham, you know, I've been a fan of him for a long time. You know, I remember watching What the first special when it came out. Um,
So good.
so funny, so good, so quirky and weird. And I remember I watched that shit on repeat in high school. Like Make Happy, which is Netflix special, which again just blew me away. wasn't as funny as one, but the ending to that was just so amazing to me. It was like one of the most like mind blowing things I've ever seen, just in terms of like performance art and performance just in general. It was one of the most unique comedy specials I've ever seen. And this was one, it was completely unexpected. He kind of just like announced it, released it out of the blue. Um, and I was just absolutely blown away by one, how funny it was, right? How funny the songs were, which, you know, that's a given. You know, he's made two, three comedy specials. They're all great. They all have funny songs. But what I wasn't expecting was for him to lean into this idea that he's been kind of forcing with like the first two comedy specials is the idea of he doesn't want to be doing this. There is this weird undertone, especially to Make Happy, where he the ending of that special is so revealing to me because it was at the time because it was basically saying like I'm depressed and I really don't like doing this, but it makes you guys happy, so that's why I'm doing this. Um, and it, that special just has this tone of like a person who feels obligated to be entertaining the audience. It feels like that he needs to be doing it, but personally he is like it's destroying him. And there were tons of stories and things like he quit touring for years, and that's kind of part of inside is part of that anxiety of leaving stage and leaving the spotlight because he needed it. And what this is an opportunity with this pandemic, he took it upon himself to make this comedy special slash film in one room all by himself. He did all the lights together himself. He edited it. He did everything. Yes, I think the only people that are credited are like colorists and things like that, and the producing part of it, which is unbelievable. Which is really nuts that he did this all himself, and that's part of the film. That's part of the experience of him making this thing. It's this really interesting, reflexive film, kind of about that he turns it on himself, and it's kind of about the idea of performance, and it's about like the idea of even writing a comedy special and what that means. What's the point of me even doing this? What's the point of me even talking to an audience that like what is this? Like so there's so many things that he tackles in this thing that are incredibly dark. Like things like anxiety, depression, suicide. Like there are some really sad and dark elements in this. Um and but it's also incredibly funny. And there's also some songs that are genuinely tear inducing and genuinely well written songs. I think of That Funny Feeling. I think of that last song. It's they're not even there's no joke in any of them. And when there are jokes, it's more of like Father John Misty jokes, where it's like a sense of humor in his music, um but there's it runs the gamut. You know, there's ridiculous songs like FaceTime with Your Mom, and then there's like things like that. And the way that he just put everything together was unlike anything I'd ever seen.
Yeah.
It's truly a masterful experiment just gone right. And this amazing thing that I will not be replicated. That's the thing about this is when I watched this, I said, that will never be replicated. Like there will never be anything like this ever, because it's so low burden. And the pandemic really um, also added to this film in a really big way. And it's interesting. I also wanted to ask you: do you think I do get the sense that this documentary, this thing, whatever this is, film, was going to come out if there wasn't a pandemic. Like he was still going to make something like this. Um, do you think that, or do you think that this was? Do you think he had this idea to do something like this because of the pandemic, or do you think that this idea was already? I would love to ask him that because there is this weird thing where he left the stage for years, and like if there wasn't a pandemic, this thing would still be incredibly great. It really would. It still would
Yeah.
be incredibly good. So I don't know if like he had this idea or it was like the pandemic sprung it. I don't know. But
I kind of remember in the film that he was talking about how one of the things that made the process of making Inside such a challenge for him was that he was at a good place and he was getting ready to try touring again.
yeah,
And then
right,
it
right,
happened and he kind of
right.
got stuck
Oh
inside
yeah, that's right,
to do all
right,
that stuff. So
right.
I don't know. I think he had this idea and I don't think it was motivated
Well,
by the pandemic. I'm
yeah,
not quite sure. It was definitely one of those things that it felt sort of like creepily serendipitous that it
yeah.
happened at the same
Because there's
time.
this like the last moment of Lake Happy, he walks into this house, this room, this like shed, and
Mhm.
the shed like comes back like in this film. So like it's weird that like maybe he had this like idea or he just, you know, fanatically connected the two when he decided to make this. I don't know. It's kind of irrelevant. But I was just curious.
I don't know. It's a cool layer of depth to it though too. That
Yeah. Right, exactly.
it adds a certain degree of significance to an already very
Yeah.
significant film
No,
experience.
I think it's genius. I don't know. It's one of the most genius things I've ever seen, and it's also like so deep in the perspective of a YouTuber who started out as a YouTuber. This is truly like the first high art thing something is made, like a YouTuber has like made, in my opinion, where it is so interesting. Like for people our age, this is like a magnum opus. Like there's something about this that connects so hard to people, millennials and Gen Z. It's just like it's about internet culture. It's about you know and his film that he did eighth grade was also tackling a lot of these same subjects, and so he just understands this uh, really strange culture of internet culture and influencer culture in a way that is um, just amazing. And I can't wait to see what he does next. If it's a film, I think he's going to make incredible shit. Like I think people need to buckle in. So I think he's gonna write or direct another thing that is just absolutely mind blowing.
Amen,
But
brother. I
I
really agree
love
with
that
that.
shit. I've seen it like 5 times.
Oh yeah, Inside is good.
Incredible.
Uh my number 5 is Nightmare Alley.
Yeah.
You said so much good shit about it. I agreed with everything you said. Um I really loved that it was this very classical take on making a film, which was cool for
Yeah.
Guillermo, which because it's different than his normal sort of like monster features
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And it was just really cool to see how good of a director he actually was. Again, just a reminder that
Yeah.
it's just like I don't need shit. I just need good
Yeah.
actors,
Right.
or I just need actors who I can get into my world and we'll make shit happen. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what Nightmare Alley is. It really it's a film that like I really don't have any problems with.
Yeah.
It's I guess I could make like a complaint that is like it stays very comfortably in sort of like the classical way of films. Like it follows like that old
It's a
formula of
noir.
making
It's a very
movies.
straight
Yeah,
up noir. Yeah.
right. And it follows that formula like to a T in
Yeah.
a very, very good way, not in a way that it's just
Yeah.
like, oh, I wish you did something different. It's like, this is a modern noir, which
Yeah.
is really, really
I think
cool.
what makes it different is Guillermo's touch to it, like directing touch,
Right,
which makes
right.
it kind of
Or like
stand
this,
out amongst.
like the set design
Right.
and just like the
Right.
tone or
Right.
like the all that kind of stuff
Right.
is,
But the
is,
story is bread and butter noir, baby. It's a
yeah.
remake of a noir film.
Right, 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 right. So the story is very,
If we
very
even, I don't
classical and
think we even
standard.
mentioned in our review that this was a remake. It was a
Yeah.
remake of a film.
Well, actually, when I was looking it up, I think I don't know if he considers it a I think he considers it an adaptation of the book because he wasn't
Okay.
remaking the movie. He
Yeah.
was basing it off of the book that he
Right.
read of it.
Right. But it's technically it's like yeah, true.
Yeah.
It's another adaptation of the book. Yeah.
Right, right, right. But man, was it good? You know, like it was good. It really used that source material and just like sucked all the good stuff out of it and put it all onto the screen. I really want to read the book now and just kind of like compare it and see it. I want to watch the old movie of it version of it too, and just like watch them all. Because old noirs are so sick, man. They're so sick, and I would love to see like how. I would love to see just all the versions of the story because it's such a great story. It's such a great, just great bread and butter noir story. Yeah, Nightmare Alley, super good.
Yeah, super great. Number 5, Peacock.
Sick. That's high.
Yeah, I mean, this is another movie, kind of like Pig. You know, I saw this in like October, and it just has sat in my mind. I mean, it is just such a wholly unique experience. Um, and something that like I was disappointed by at first because of kind of maybe the way that the story we just posted a review for it, so but I say that I think of that review where it's like the story didn't go exactly the way that maybe I wanted it to when I pressed play, which is kind of unfair, which is like kind of weird that I have these feelings. It's one of the weirdest feelings ever with films that some people have is like this idea of expectation, um, and this idea of like wanting a certain story when you go see something. And especially when you go see an art film like Tucon, the whole idea of it is that they are subverting what she's smarter than you. She is. That's why she's a filmmaker and won the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival. Like she is literally trying to subvert the idea of a movie like that. And she 100% does. And not only does she do that, she creates something that is so thematically, it's like an abyss. You can literally, there is so much that you can grab onto and talk about. I mean, we had an awesome discussion about it. And it is a cool genre movie, too. And it's also like this, it's a genre movie, but it's also the first half of it. You're like, oh, this is a genre film. And then it just goes banana. It crossed. I love films that do this where genre bending is what it's called. Is that they just the lines are so blurred. I don't know what to fucking call this. Like a thriller, drama, horror. I don't know. Like I don't know what the fuck to call this. Like, and that's like amazing to me. And that's something that like this one was challenging for me, but the more I thought about it, and after we did that podcast, I was just like, man, that movie is really good. Just the more talking about it and stuff, um, I really grew to like it. I started to, I want to finish it, but I started to rewatch it, and like I already kind of liked it more, just because I knew kind of where it was going, and I think this film is really, really cool and really good. Um, and like I am definitely gonna continue to watch this for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
for sure.
that's super dope.
It's an interesting movie. But yeah, that's fine.
That's 5. Cool.
Yeah.
That's a Teton is a sweet nothing. There is nothing in this world like Teton. Only Teton is like Teton. My my number 4 is Inside. It's my turn to gush about this film. Holy shit. What I love what you said right when you started off, which was mind blowing on impact. What a good way to describe this film because it is such a gut punch from the moment you start it. You're like, what? What is going on? And then the more you watch it, the more it just like hits you because it's sad, it's funny, it's like exciting. You're just like you're like guessing it's like what's gonna happen next, which is so weird to be thinking that when you're watching a musical comedy special.
Whatever it is.
What? Like what the hell? And I really see this film as a giant paradigm shift in the ideas of what film could be because he just totally subverted all like the models of like thinking what movies have to be,
Yeah.
and like you said, innovating the YouTube format into this level of
Yeah.
being high art, which
Yeah.
YouTube videos are getting to that point. YouTube videos
Yes.
are getting
Yes.
fucking
Yes.
good,
Yes.
especially recently. And not just because
In
it's,
quality wise,
yeah,
in terms of like, yeah, they are for sure.
I think that this Inside is the future. Honestly, I think
I
it's the
kind of agree with
future in
you.
a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I don't think, like you said, I agree. This is a not replicable film.
It'll
You
never
can't
be
like
replicable. No,
replicate this.
no. And
But
if you do, people are gonna be like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
yeah,
You
you're
know?
just doing Bo Burnham, and
Yeah.
Bo
Right.
Burnham's always going to do Bo Burnham better than you
Right.
because he's
Right.
Bo
Well,
Burnham.
not only that, it's like this is such a unique thing that like you could like even if you were set socks up like it, you're like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah, yeah, right.
But like,
But
just the look of it is so unique
but
too.
the thing that's crazy about it is like you can't replicate it, but the feeling that he captured in it is, I think, what's the thing that's going to propel and what's going to grab
Exactly.
onto
Right.
people like you and me,
Yeah.
because everyone I've talked to who've watched that has had this like deeply resonant experience about it that
Mm-hmm.
was just so cool. And another factor that is a really simple factor about it that I found to be deeply profound is the fact that he did it all himself, which
Yeah.
is just the idea of which you get so caught up in this, in like this consumerist modern world where you
Yeah.
just feel like you need something to do anything. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I need to buy an expensive pen to be able to draw
Right.
something. I need to buy a nice car to be able to
Yeah.
get places. I need to go to a nice school to be able to have a future. I need to buy nice clothes to be able to go out and see people. I need
Yeah.
to buy like all this stuff where it's like you have this feeling of needing things. And the format of films is such a big, when you think about films, it's such, there's these massive budgets behind it, which makes it feel so inaccessible to be a
Yeah.
filmmaker if you don't understand how it
Yeah.
works. It's
Right.
like, how do you
Yeah.
ever get to that point of making movies?
Right.
And this is so great
Yeah.
because it's like, yeah, it's not later Raiders in the Lost Ark, you know, it's not
Yeah.
some epic fan, it's not Star Wars, it's not something like that, but it's a resonant movie that
Yeah.
connects with people.
Yeah.
And you could do that too, you know,
Yeah.
you have
Especially
to.
like in the same line of something like Blair Witch, like prior, like these things that were like self-financed and that were made by, a group of people or one person,
Yeah.
it does totally have that spirit as well. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
And the other thing is, which is so great about how open he is about his mental distress,
Yeah.
also goes to the inspiration factor, because there's also this fetish with celebrities and people who make creative stuff
That
that
was
they're these
part of
perfect.
the really interesting, that's part of the thematic
Yeah,
element of the film. Yeah.
and you look at these
Amazing.
people like they're superhumans who are perfect, who can
Right.
only make good stuff, and
Yeah.
which is not true at all. And Bo Burnham
No.
really puts that to the forefront about
Yeah.
saying that, like, not only is that not true, but there is no other way to do this
Mm-hmm.
type of deep, really good, like, creative work without having this huge burden of stress on it. You know, when you're at
Yeah.
that level, you have to face that or you're not going to make
Right.
something good. And
Well,
it
there's
also,
that last moment of the film is so indicative of what you just said. There's the last moment of the film is like he is watching himself basically being laughed at, um, as he tries to get back to the house, um, and he's as he's watching himself like basically struggle and people laugh at him. He just watches it and smiles with like this smirk, and it's like that's the end of it, and that invokes that very thing where it's like I have to almost be, I have to accept this. This is part of my existence.
yeah,
Is
yeah,
living this life,
yeah,
which is so personal, and so crazy.
yeah. And it's the type of film that I love because you can't ever sum it up in words. It's impossible to
No,
sum up in words because there's something that this film does and communicates to you that you can't say. And
yeah,
that's what films are for. They're for getting to that film, that feeling that can only be created through watching that specific film. And
yeah,
this is like a particularly this is just like a particularly complex one, and it's like
Oh yeah,
it's one of those things where it's just like I'm so happy to be alive when it came out.
yeah,
It was just that
yeah.
significant
It's
to me.
definitely like a cultural phenomenon and something that like I mean, Bills is like kind of been already a voice of like a generation, and then this was kind of like really just putting on the Mount Rushmore of
Yeah,
internet people, he kind of made it through this. He's one of the first ever YouTube stars, and he kind of made it through that and kind of transcended to this filmmaker who's making like a really high concept, artful things, but still has that spirit of a YouTuber, which
yeah,
is another thing that is explored in the film very subtly, but yeah,
yeah. Like you said, man, it's genius. It's
yeah.
genius.
It was absolutely genius. Um, okay, that was four.
Yeah, it was my four.
Okay, my four is the Green Knight.
Damn.
Incredible movie. This is another movie that I feel like there are people who liked it, and there are people who were like, eh, like there
Yeah.
were some of my friends that were like, yeah, that was cool, and then like it was one of those movies that like it came out, and like I was like, what the fuck? I was like, holy shit, dude, that wasn't that
Yeah.
fucking unbelievable, like unbelievably great. They're like, yeah, I get it. It's not for everybody. This movie is um incredibly uh weird. I mean, it's a medieval epic, fantasy epic, and it's not grounded in any way. And it's um also an A24 film. It is artful, it asks questions. It doesn't, again, this is a film that doesn't tell you what to think, and it doesn't tell you what you should be feeling in every fucking moment. It lets you sit in the vibe of the movie and interpret the characters and interpret the story the way that you want the way that take it in. And this is such a like stimulating, visually stimulating film. Like it's one of the most beautiful looking movies of the year, easily. Up there like the West Side Story, Licorice Pizza. This film is like absolutely uh gorgeous to look at. There are so many incredible scenes in this movie visually, and so many like interesting motifs, visual motifs throughout it, interesting metaphors visually. I keep saying that because there's not a lot of dialogue in this movie. There is, but it's very um minimal, and it's very like it's all about the visual experience and you going on this journey with Darwin visually and watching him go through this experience and this trial, um, and ultimately ending in such a bizarre, unexpected, and absolutely brilliant way. That is one of those things that some of my friends, I think, still have yet to be like, I have no idea what happened at the end of that. And like, part of me is like, really? But another part of me is like, okay, I can maybe see that. Um, because if you're not like in the vibe of the movie and it's not working for you really, because this movie really is relying on you to pay attention and you to kind of pick up all these metaphors as these visual motifs and these visual metaphors as he's going through the landscapes and the journey. Then if you're not picking up on those, the ending like will just go right over your head. Um, and I get it, but I would suggest step back, read a little bit, maybe read a little bit about the Green Knight poem, and maybe think about it that way, and I think you'll get a lot out of it. But this is um, David Lowery. This guy makes fucking dope movies. I love this movie, and I also love A Ghost Story, which is one of the most odd, beautiful films I've ever seen. He's a filmmaker to watch. He's making some really interesting films. And someone who I think is kind of underrated. I think a lot of people talk about Ari Aster, Robert Eggers, all these fucking guys,
Yeah.
filmmaker. But Drew Lowry is making some really good shit. Not only is he
Hell
making
yeah.
really good shit, he's making every like every film is wildly different. Like, and that's something that is really impressive to me. His next film is Peter Pan, an
Yeah,
adaptation of Peter
yeah,
Pan.
it's so wild.
And he's an adaptation of Pete's Dragon, which I thought was incredible. I thought it was so good. Uh, and so and he made like a ghost story, which is, I'm not kidding, like one of the weirdest. Like, it's a concept for a film that you only a great filmmaker can even pull off. Like, it's such a bizarre idea. It's like the fact that it got made, first of all. I mean, it was made for like nothing. It was made for like a shoestring budget, but um, which makes sense because even I love that film, and even like if I was a producer, I would be like, maybe not, because that could easily having your character be a ghost in a bedsheet ghost. Okay, like you better shoot that in the right way, or else it's
Yeah.
going to be completely corny. Um, and that film was just brilliant. And this film was on this epic scale. This movie doesn't have the biggest budget either. This is like, a $50 million movie. I wouldn't fucking know. I would guess that this was like 400 million
Yeah, it
because
looks
this movie looks
so
so
good.
amazing. And
It
there's
looks so
the visual effects that are in this movie are absolutely incredible. I think the fox, I think the giant, the Green Knight himself is absolutely amazing. I don't know what's digital and what's not, but I don't care. I mean, it looks great. This is how to do an epic. With you don't need $400 million to make a King Arthur epic. I'm looking at you, Guy Ritchie. Um,
good.
so like this movie is just so poetic in the way that it was told. It just fit the adapt. It was such a great adaptation of a story that was hundreds and hundreds of years old, and there's a reason these stories are still being told. It's universal. It's amazing. What's not to like? It's awesome. I wish this was higher. It's
Yeah.
amazing. It's an
Yeah.
incredible movie. It's an eye-gasmic experience, and it's also the music, the fucking performance by
Oh,
Ben Patel. It's such a dope ass movie. So dope. It's just dope. It's just awesome.
hell yeah, dude.
It's awesome. Love
I'm
that
with
film.
you. I'm with you on that hill for sure. Okay, number 3. My number 3 is Dune.
Nice.
Bruh,
Yeah.
I like sandworms.
Yeah.
Bruh, I like
Yeah.
spaceships. Bruh, I like sand. I fucking
Yeah.
love sand. Sand is so sick in this movie. It looks so good.
Yeah.
Denis Villeneuve
Yeah.
just has his hand on how to make good movies. He knows
Yeah.
how to
Oh
make
yeah.
blockbusters. He knows what to do with the money. He
Yeah.
knows how to tell the actors how to do the thing to
And
make them really cool and still be emotional.
what's
He
really
just knows
cool
how to do it.
is that Hollywood gets it. Because his movies bomb,
Yeah.
except for Doom. But his movies before Doom, Blade
Yeah.
Runner was
2049
a bomb. It was not a successful
failure.
movie.
Yeah.
But it was so amazing, and it got nominated for so many Academy Awards. I think people, I would love to know if it did eventually win its budget back. Just people renting it, because it was so good that I think like
Yeah.
word of mouth had to have caught up. Because I do every time I go on Twitter, I see at least like some film bro guy tweet like a shot from the movie or something. So it's definitely like not like a hidden gem or something, but it's impressive that he got this movie made. Like, because
Yeah,
his
dude.
movies they weren't successes. First of all, Warner Brothers had to take a risk because his movies don't make money. And so, like, but they took the risk on the artist, which is cool.
Which is also cool that
Very rare.
they would take a risk on an artist like that and for Dune the project, which is the
Yeah,
most cursed film
yeah, right,
production
right.
like ever. One of the most legendary cursed
Which
like adaptations
I
like
will say, the David Lynch did is so weird but I genuinely just enjoy that movie because it's
I
so
also
fucking
I also
weird.
love that movie. There's also some really
There's
cool
really great
movements.
shit in it too. Yeah,
Yeah, there's some
really
really
great shit.
really really good moments in
Oh
that.
yeah,
But the studio really
right,
fucked that film up. They
yeah,
really did.
right.
And so it's really cool to see an artistic take on this legendary story.
And
And
Warner Brothers going all the way too. Letting him
yeah,
make a trilogy. Like that's cool.
yeah, so it's really nice to sort of feel this innovation in sort of a more classic way of like how movies, blockbuster movies type of
Yeah,
feel to me. And I just like
yeah.
space epics. I
It's
love
great.
epics. I love
It's
big
incredible.
stories. They've got tiresome because of like
Yeah,
Marvel and like all this shit. Everyone's going like really big. I want to make them super large, but when it's done right, when it's good, when it's a classic, I love it. You can't
yeah,
get something better than that, you
yeah.
know? And I do agree that like I think this film has sort of like a lackluster feeling at the end of it. Well, the ending is not like
Oh,
the
it
film
doesn't end.
itself. The film is great, but it needs that next part too. Like
Oh,
we need the rest of the story for
yeah.
sure.
I mean, it
But
basically like is getting started. Like the
yeah,
journey is just beginning. You
yeah.
know,
And that's
like
one of the things that was so cool about this film is that they let it be
yeah.
so slow. You
Oh,
know, that's why it
absolutely.
worked so well
Oh,
because
it's gonna pay off. I'm
yeah,
almost certain that this is gonna pay off.
yeah,
Like
yeah. Because if like it's only going to get more interesting from here.
yes,
And
and
I
probably
don't know. It
better
was
visually somehow.
yeah, I know. So it's just it was a really exciting thing to watch, and I
Oh
really
yeah,
want to see it again.
yeah,
I've thought about it ever since I saw it. It was
yeah,
such an awesome
yeah.
awesome theater experience. Like
Oh yeah.
talk about
One of the
if we're
best of the year.
one of talking that film is like the theater was designed around films like that. It was
That's the thing that I just we're losing. It's like I think yes, there's a lot of films that come out that are designed for theaters, but in reality they're not. Um, and I think what I mean by that is just even Spider-Man No Way Home, which I absolutely love. The whole film shot on like a blue screen, good blue screen, but it's a blue screen. You don't feel, and part of that is designed in a way where like it looks weird on screen, but it looks even weirder when you watch it at home. It's because it's just feels like a product. That makes any sense.
yeah,
Not all Marvel movies
yeah.
look
That's so
the
good.
same.
That's such a
Which I
good way to
like Marvel movies.
describe
I think
it.
they're very fun. What helps those movies is they're actually very well written, and the characters are very fun, and they just have this like formula that's awesome. But the look of them, not into it at all.
Mm-mm.
The more and more I watch, I'm just like, these. It's disappointing. I was excited for Doctor Strange too, because that movie looks fucking wild, and if any director is gonna do some cool visual innovative stuff, it's fucking Sam Raimi, and that trailer was kind of melting my head a little bit for some of the visual effects and designs and some of the things in that movie that looks insane. So hopefully Sam Raimi will like put some fucking vigor in the just the design of their movies, and like doing some cool camera stuff and stuff like that instead of just like locking the camera down, blue room, we'll add the whole scene in post, like that kind of
Yeah,
filmmaking.
yeah,
Uh, which we'll see. Anyway, but Dune is not that at all. It is a cinematic experience. The way that the sound, like all of the elements come together to make a cinematic experience. Like
yeah.
the sound in Dune is
Uh,
if it doesn't win an Oscar, like if the sound design doesn't win an Academy Award, I'm just gonna turn it off and just lose all hope and everything,
yeah,
because wow, I mean, good God, like I'm not someone who I'm deaf.
yeah,
I don't pay attention to the sound that much, but this movie just had this incredible sound design that it was undeniable. It
yeah.
just sounded so good.
And we had a really cool discussion when we reviewed this movie, and you reminded me when talking about the special effects in Marvel films that
Yeah,
Dune is it's great because of what you were saying. It really does real directing, like being on set, being out in like those
Oh yeah, they
in
shot
that
in Jordan.
area.
They shot in Jordan.
But on
Yeah,
top of that, Denis Villeneuve has this understanding of how to make special effects just look
yeah,
crazy. They
yeah.
are such
Arrival.
insane effects. Arrival is like
Yeah.
that film. I was definitely the type of person who was like, I don't like CGI at all. CGI sucks. And I saw
Mm-hmm.
Arrival and I was like, I have to rethink my
Yeah.
perspective on this because that
Right.
was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And Dune felt like that times 1,000 because there's
Right.
only one spaceship in Arrival. There's a lot of them in Dune, and they all look
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. Right.
So
Well, the sand world itself is just unbelievable. I mean, the scale of the thing is just it's awesome.
it's
And that's
so
all
amazing.
directing. That's all because
Yeah,
a visual effects artist, that's just like it's they do incredible work too, but it's about the shot, the way that you shoot it. I think I got also that first Godzilla movie, where in comparison, but I think the special effects of that movie are unbelievably great too. Just from like the scale, when I could like feel something like that big, that's when I know I'm like, okay, that's when CGI is cool. When I can actually
yeah.
feel it, cinematically instead of like, oh wow, that looks cool.
Yeah. And
You know?
and the thing that like I think Denis really understands is like one of the important ways is like, yeah, it's getting the effect polished and like perfected in like a texture and like size and making it look right. But it's also more importantly, I think, is like how where you put the camera and the lighting
Yeah.
about it
Oh
and like
yeah.
what you
Oh yeah.
don't see a lot of the time.
Oh yeah.
Because so many times you'll see like these big monsters are supposed to be intimidating, which is just like this wide shot, like full lighting, like it's lit all around, you see everything, and it's like that's not how you make it feel like how you want it to make it feel like I
Yeah.
see what you're trying to do, but it just doesn't feel like that.
That
Denis knows how to make it
cinematographer.
actually feel like it.
Listen, that cinematographer. He fits dude, and he also fits Batman. So he's cool. So I love his.
Cool
I mean,
as
he's
fuck.
very good at his job.
Very good.
So yeah, dude is fucking dope.
I love Dune. I can't wait for part two. It's going to be so
I can't
exciting.
wait either. I
It's
need
going to
it.
be so exciting.
I need it.
We'll be like old men by the time it comes out.
I know. Like what the fuck, man?
uh,
Um. All right. So that was your three.
that was my
All
three.
right, you're gonna get mad at me, but I think you'll understand what I
Okay.
explained my other two. The Friends Dispatch is number
Whoa.
three.
That's crazy.
Three. Very good.
Tell me
It
why it's
is. I love
tree.
this film. I absolutely love this film. And I think the only reason that it is three, because I this is a 5-star movie in my opinion. This is a perfect film. This is one of Wes Anderson's. Um, I think he's one of his best films. A crime against humanity is that this film got zero nominations, zero
That's
Academy Award
so
nominations.
ridiculous.
Not only is
There's
that
no
ridiculous, that is blasphemous. That is insanity. And I understand you cannot,
why?
because they're fucking
Why?
morons. Because they're all I don't know because they're morons. I'm
That's I
serious.
can't
That's the only
understand.
explanation I can give you. Because not even set design? Are you fucking kidding me? I mean, are
Oh
you
my
fucking kidding me?
god.
Um, and but yeah, just the technical stuff. Like seriously, none of the technical stuff. Like, are you
I
give me a break? Like, I
know. Oh
understand.
my
Like, you
god.
don't have to nominate it for best, but the technical stuff. I mean, it's just stupid. Um, but this is one of his, in my opinion, one of his best films. I love this film, and like I think that it is going to go down as one of his most ambitious films, in terms of story and scope. And the only reason I think it's three is kind of what I expected. You know, like I went in and was like, it was unexpected in the sense of like the the story that I got, but like it's Wes Anderson. I love Wes Anderson. And like, it was pretty typical style for him. And like, it felt like it was everything that I expected it to be, and then like a little bit more, And I think for me, I'm always like things that like always excite me are like the unexpected things that come out that I just have no expectations for, and blow out of the water, and just like, reignite my love of cinema again.
Yeah.
Just when I walked into it, I knew I already was kind of like, I'm gonna like it. Like, I'm not gonna not like this. Um,
Yeah.
and but I loved it, So like, I think that's the only reason it's there. Because these top three,
Interesting.
I loved all of them equally. But this film is just it's incredible. There's this movie has some of my favorite Wes Anderson sequences of all time in it. And some of his like really smart writing, which I could see somebody calling pretentious, or self-indulgent, but I love that. I love Wes Anderson's, quirkiness and um his tendencies to do certain things. I love his style so much. It's so specific that I understand if somebody if you're not if you don't like any Wes Anderson movies, do not watch this. You won't like this. I mean, this is very, very this is like the most Wes Anderson movie that he's made, you
Yeah.
know. So in that regard, like I can see why it's not maybe hitting so many people, as much as like Grand Budapest, for example. Um, but I don't know. This film is just awesome, and it
Yeah.
does maybe also hinder from. It is an anthology film in some way, where there's a lot of stories, there's a lot of
Yeah,
characters,
definitely.
and like I expressed in the review or whatever, is like sometimes like because the film is introducing new characters to you and new storylines like all the time, it could be like you could get fatigued because it's a lot. And so when you go to a new story, you have to get acclimated with this new story, these new characters. It's a lot, And so, but ultimately, I think that's a good thing. Because just more rewatches, you're just gonna get more of the vibe. Hell, you can even like, oh, I didn't like this one as much, and like still around. Like it's very kind of interactive in that way, which is kind of
Yeah.
cool. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I'm trying here. I'm trying to find some reason it's three, but
It
I
just
love
is.
everything about it. It just is. Okay. It just is.
That's fine. I accept that. Well, my number two, which could easily have been my number one if I watched it a few more times, I
Yeah.
think. But my number two is French Dispatch. Um, I love this film. I love this film so much for all the reasons that you said it.
Yeah.
I think my take on it is I think this is also a perfect film, but I agree that it's not necessarily the hugest Wes Anderson innovation. I think that
Yeah.
it's
Oh
kind
yeah.
of
No.
once he makes a new film, this film will get even better because it's not going to have that sort of burden of being the newest Wes Anderson film, which like sort of represents him.
Sure.
Then we'll change our focus to like the next new thing that he's making.
Yeah.
And this film will just become a part of his oeuvre, which is
Yeah. Yeah.
already good. And that's just going to make it even
Yeah.
more juicy.
Yeah.
Um, it's, I
Actually,
just
he's
thought,
gonna be like I was thinking about this the other day. He's gonna be a filmmaker that is gonna be studied for like all of eternity.
yeah,
Like his
yeah,
films have this like timeless quality about it that some people might not even pick up on today. But his films like you can watch like they're so timeless. Like it's insane. Like
yeah.
and like I don't know. He's just gonna be studied like we study like Carpenter or something. Like people are gonna just like watch all his fucking movies and love all his movies for various reasons. It's just
Yeah.
gonna be one of those filmmakers. He already is, but
Well,
when he
think
start
about
making movies, holy fuck.
like how like people were so blown away by like Citizen Kane because of like the scope and how
Yeah.
complicated and huge it was. And French Dispatch is like 10 times more complicated than Citizen Kane
Yeah,
in a
yeah,
lot of
yeah. Oh
ways.
yeah, totally.
And it's like and it's not just complicated just to like fill the screen. Maybe some crazy people would think that, but
Right.
I think it's all brilliant. It's a little
Yeah.
overwhelming. I agree with that because it's
Well,
so
that's
much
like yeah. I
information
mean,
all the
if you
time.
do think like that, I mean, that's part of his style. I mean, you
Yeah.
might not just be into his style.
And what I loved about French Dispatch so much is that I feel like he was at this point where it's just like I think people know what I'm doing well enough that I can just sort of
Yes.
do a shorthand and I'm just going to go so fast. I'm going to go
That's a
straight
really good
into it,
point.
and we're just going to do it at 11 the whole movie.
It does have this line where you know what you're getting into. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's almost like you're like the people that are here, like they know what's up. You know?
exactly,
Like so,
exactly.
yeah.
And I really
Funny.
I really liked all of just he just does such crazy shit in his
Yeah,
films, and he does it like every other scene in this one.
yeah.
It's just like, wow, that was insane. It's like,
But
whoa, that was
it's not just like crazy shit and drink like cinematic elements. It's like the story of the film is like incredibly sweet. It turns out to be like this beautiful ode to journalism. It's
yeah,
this film that is so on its surface fucking bananas. It's bonkers crazy. Like
yeah.
there are so many characters, so many iconic actors that appear in the movie for half a scene.
Yeah.
Like Christoph Waltz.
Yeah,
Like
so
they're just
funny.
it's like this movie is insane, but ultimately this is kind of the genius I think of the film is that it is so simple what this movie's about. This is a simple it's this ode to journalism and this ode to this small town in France and this culture and these journalists. And it's like so beautiful in that
Yeah,
way. It's so sweet. And that's so Wes Anderson, you
yeah.
know?
And I really think that this film is another just nail in like the big billboard that is proving that Wes Anderson is a master. He is
He's
a master.
getting a little too good. He might
Yeah,
have to
it's
stop for it. He might have to stop because
I
it's getting a
know.
little overwhelming. It's like, what are you gonna make when you're? Because how old is he? He's
I
like
don't know. He
close to
seems pretty
50,
young.
right?
Yeah, which is like
What is
I
he
don't
gonna
know.
make when he's like 70? Like
I know.
Jesus Christ!
You know what I would really like is if he gets more and more crazy with this, and then he makes like a really slow film or something like that. Like he
I
goes
think
like in the complete
at some
opposite
point he has
direction.
to do that.
Yeah.
Because at some point, like I can see him like switching his style a little bit, trying to do something different. I mean, I
Yeah.
know right now he's making a rom com. I think that's like the next thing that he's making is I think Asteroid City is like a rom com, which I don't think
Yeah.
he's ever made before. So
Yeah. That's
that's already
sounds
different.
which honestly, like Wes Anderson just does love so well. He writes love stories that are so
Yeah,
charming and wonderful
yeah.
that like that's a rom com I am like so
Well,
excited to
Rushmore
see.
is kind of a rom com in a weird way.
Yeah, that's true.
Very
Yeah,
oddball one. Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, it's amazing.
French Dispatch, excellent,
Yeah,
excellent, excellent. So good,
yeah.
so excellent. You should
Amazing.
try watching it. Watch all of his other films. Like watch them in order. There's great films to watch in
Oh
order,
yeah.
and this will be a great one to end on, and just be excited for what's next. It's
Yeah,
it's
they're all fantastic. We did
it's
a
so
whole
good.
podcast ranking all these movies. Go check that out too.
Yeah,
Um,
this is like the
okay,
advertising podcast for all of our other podcasts.
yeah, for real. Um, number three
No, two,
or number
right?
two, yeah. This is a film called Red Rocket. This is
Wow.
an A24 film that I don't I don't know what happened to this movie because it's Tom Baker who made Tangerine, Florida Project, two of the best films of the 2010s. Please watch both those; they're fucking incredible. Um, and this film didn't really come out in theaters. It I think was came out like very limited and then went to VOD and so I think a lot of people now because of Rent, a lot of people are talking about it more. Like more people are there's some videos on YouTube about it. And I think people are kind of catching up on its brilliance and how really great the movie is. Um, I this is the all I can describe is this is my shit. I love movies about horrible people. Because I love movies about charismatic, awful people. I think that might be my favorite type of movie, and for a lot of reasons. Like, I'm going to explain what Red Rocket is about, just so I don't, because there is some trigger stuff in this. So if you maybe, I don't want you to watch it and be really upset. but
Yeah.
so what this movie is about is it's Simon Rex plays Mikey, who is a porn star, a washed up porn star that the first scene of the movie is that he's on a bus and he's going back to his hometown of Texas City, Texas. and from LA, and he's a washed up poor. He has no money, and he's trying to go to his ex-wife. And the first scene of the movie is him going to his ex-wife and trying to move back in and rekindle the relationship with his ex-wife and her mother. And what this movie is kind of about is this: it follows this character who is manipulative, charismatic, crazy, hilarious, uh, and all these different things. He's one of the most interesting characters I've seen in movies this year. Um, and the what this movie ultimately becomes about is he meets this 17-year-old girl, and he basically starts grooming her to be a porn star. Um, and what's so interesting about this movie, and something that I made a joke earlier in Licorice Pizza, where I'm getting worked up just thinking about this. So if you genuinely have something wrong with Licorice Pizza, like you think that this movie should be in the dumpster, you think Paul Thomas Anderson should be put in jail, you haven't seen this movie. This is by far 100 times worse than Licorice Pizza, in the sense of this film is a lot of like Sean Baker. One of the brilliant things about Sean Baker, in my opinion, is his idea. Look, like Florida Project was a pretty sad and dark movie about kids that live in these projects outside of Disney World. And what that film does so brilliantly is it suits it from the perspective of the kids. And uh, the cinematography is just colorful, vibrant. It's showing what the view of the kids' life is like, and which makes that film incredibly interesting because you're seeing this, horrible situation that these kids are in, and this poor girl, this her mother is in, and how it's putting a toll on the relationship when it's told from this kid perspective. So it has this almost like E.T., like this Amblin, Steven Spielberg kind of vibe to it. And like one of the most brilliant aspects to that film is that it is just the idea that it's told from the kid's perspective. Now, I'm going to show you the poster of Red Rocket, okay? And I think this is very indicative of what he's going for this film that I found to be incredibly brilliant. Um, okay, this is the poster of the movie. Can you see it? Kinda.
Here, I'll look it up on Letterbox.
Yeah, I can just
I can look.
describe it. So basically, for the audience, it's basically like if you know any of those boner comedies in the 80s, like that are like Porky's or something, like you look at the poster for like Porky's or something, or
Yeah.
Revenge of the Nerds. So it has this poster of like the main character with a donut around his hip, and it looks like a sex comedy. It looks like a, and that's because this movie is told from the main character's perspective. And that's how he sees the story. He sees it as like, you know, he's a he's a garbage person. And it's not like Sean Baker's making this movie about like he's not like telling you, um, hey, this guy's an asshole, or this guy, it's just presenting this character and, showing this insane story about what it ultimately becomes is like these people that I didn't know existed called suitcase pimps
Mm-hmm.
that are real people who are slimy guys who have like 1,000 people followers on their Pornhub account, and that they recruit young girls to film with and try to manipulate them to basically become stars, and basically sex trafficking.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
kind of what this movie is actually about, ultimately. And this film is it's so interesting. It's so funny. It's really dark, and it's shot on like 16 millimeter. So it has this grindiness, this dirtiness, this uh, like just amazing dialogue. It's shot in Texas City, Texas, which is like this bum fuck nowhere town, this
Yeah.
garbage. And there's this, it's basically a town that there's so many shots of like, uh, it's surrounded by an industrial park. Like there's so many shops, and like so that kind of gives you an idea of like what this town is like. There's nothing to do there. There's nothing, and so it's just this incredibly weird character study of this uh, insane man that you that the film is not telling you to like this guy or not like this guy, and that's something that uh, was interesting to filmmaker and interesting to me, the viewer, because a lot of these suitcase pimps are that. They're these charismatic, manipulative sociopaths. And what this
Yeah.
movie is showing that. It's an incredibly dark movie, but it's presented in this almost farcical kind of way because that's how the main character sees it. It's a brilliant film. I think it's absolutely, I think Saul Baker is one of the most interesting and innovative and just amazing filmmakers, and I just like can't wait to see what he does next. Because I love his films, all three of them that I've seen, Tangerine, War Project, and this, they blew me away. They're absolutely amazing. So yeah, this is not for everybody though. You know, it's definitely there are multiple scenes where he is having sex with a 17-year-old girl, like porn sex. So it's like it's way worse than Licorice Pizza. Obviously, the actress is in 17s, is like 20, 27. But
Yeah. Yeah.
so uh but it's such a cool movie and something that I really like. So yeah, that's my number two.
That's a wild number two. I've heard some that was one of those things that sometimes is it A24?
Yeah,
Sometimes A24 just really sweeps some of these really weird, cool films under the rug. Like Under the Silver Lake is the other one that we've
yeah.
talked about before. Just these really weird decisions that to subvert some of these really
Yeah.
cool, weird little films.
And
That
there
was
is
one
like,
that kind
and
of
also they have, I think they definitely have like a certain marketing budget, and they probably put a
yeah,
lot of money
right.
into the tragedy of Macbeth, which, was getting a lot of Oscar buzz, has Oscar nominations and stuff. So they probably put their money more into that, and stuff like that, which makes sense. And it's also
Yeah, but
Joe Cohen,
yeah,
so it's like,
right, right.
it's
That
kind of
being
powerful.
said, it is kind of cool to have like these to find these more
Yes.
underground
Yeah.
films, like the
Yeah.
underground of the underground, and they
Yeah.
tend to be kind of really fucking good.
Right.
So that's cool. That's cool. Sounds
I don't
neat.
think I really did it justice in explaining it, but it's it's just a fascinating film. It's also really goddamn funny.
Yeah,
And also all the actors. I have to mention this, but all the actors in the movie are not actors. They're
that's
all
cool.
real people. And it gives this film has such a unique vibe to it. Like it's so grounded. Like all the characters in the movie are so phenomenal because they're real people. Like he
Yeah,
went to Texas City, Texas. Like one of the main characters in this movie, he saw her walking her dog and walked up to her and said, "Would you like to be in a movie?"
yeah,
And she was like, "Okay." And so she auditioned, got the part. I mean, that's how he casts his movies. So it's really, and he
pretty
did that on
sick.
Florida Project as well. So I love that way of making movies because all the characters feel so authentic because they are, you know.
Yeah,
So there's not a lot of filmmakers doing that. The Safdie brothers do that as well, which I think makes their films feel the way they do,
yeah,
too.
right.
So
It's a difficult way to film, and it's a weird way to film now,
oh yeah,
because it's so uncommon, but it has made some of the best movies ever to do weird,
John
quirky shit
Cassavetes
like that.
films. There's a lot of great filmmakers that do that.
And I thought Florida Project was such a great like modernization and innovation of working in that kind of way,
Yeah,
which was like learning from like these experience of taking non-actors to do stuff and then really pushing it to another level. So I'm really glad that he's continuing with that and made another
yeah,
banger. I'm definitely
yeah,
going to watch that one.
yeah.
Um, okay. Number one, we're at the ones, we're at the top. We've reached the
Yes,
peak.
sir.
This is
Number one.
where this is where we let it all loose. My number one is Green Knight. I
Yeah.
love that movie. It's
Yeah.
so good. I like fantasy. I like weird shit. I like I like epics. I like it when, you know, you're not told what to think. I like
Yeah.
cool visuals. I like good music. I like monsters. I like when it's fun. Green Knight is like all of those things, and it's a lot more. It's 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 one of those movies that works in a really subtextual level. You know, it's not something that like
Oh
tells
yeah.
you what the story is on the forefront, and you did a really good job kind of discussing it and dissecting kind of like how it works or how it feels initially.
Yeah.
But it's a really emotional piece. It really is something that you're
If you
it's
want
like
it to be, you
yeah,
know, because you can
yeah.
watch this and you have to really engage with it. But if you really want to get the nitty gritty, yeah, it's emotional for sure.
I feel like it functions in a way where it's like he wrote a really complicated script for this, where there's like all this dialogue and
Yeah.
prose, and he just cut it all out after
Yeah.
he got the actors to
Yep.
feel the way that they were supposed to.
Yeah.
So what but it doesn't feel like there's holes. It just feels like
No.
he just removed everything that wasn't needed from
Yeah.
it, and just has this really pure and visual presentation of this
Right.
really awesome classic story.
Yeah.
And I think that he did the best job I've ever seen of like a King Arthur adaptation, of making it feel
Okay.
like how when you read like a poem like that,
Yeah.
like this really feels that way, and
Yeah.
not a way that's like super
Well,
corny.
it feels very
Um,
like poetic in the way of like something like a Tarkovsky movie, like Solaris or something
yes.
like that, which is you know, not people's favorite thing, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Yeah, and I think it's a kind of I love Tarkovsky's movies. I'm a
yeah,
huge
yeah,
fan of Solaris and Stalker, and
yeah,
it's true. It's one of those things that is just like it's really hard to get because it's so different than how most movies are made, or how movies
right,
are tended to be said like are supposed to be made, if you
yeah,
will. Like movies aren't supposed to be made that way based on like the conventional sense.
right,
But I think it's really powerful. I just think
mm-hmm,
it's really powerful and communicates at a level that you can't with conventional filmmaking.
yeah.
And yeah, I think
I
it's
mean,
not
yeah,
something
yeah,
that it won't have the widest reach of them all. You know, it's not going to have as wide of
yeah,
reach as as Spielberg films did, or things like that.
yeah,
But it communicates something important to me, and I like that. I like that
mm,
about stories, where it's just like I felt like I watched something important, and I watched a really valuable character transformation, and
mm-hmm,
I in a world that was really amazing to experience, and like again a cinematic experience that
yeah,
feels novel when a lot of there's like more movies ever being made, and I still don't I sometimes I feel like I haven't seen like a real film in a really long time.
yeah,
And The Green Knight was just one of those that was just like so refreshing, just a nice sip of like orange of lemonade on a hot day.
yeah,
Really weird cup of lemonade. I love it. I think it's
yeah.
super great. I want to get the Blu-ray and just study every frame of it, because it's such a
I
painterly
have the Blu-ray.
fantastic film. I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah. It's really fantastic. And like something that like I mean, I think like one of the things that you said that I kind of a little bit disagree with is like I do think that this isn't the most like it's pretty it, the thing that's like a weird annoying to me is like it's pretty accessible. It's not like you're watching like it's it's just not made like other things. Like
Yeah.
if you just are a normal person, like if you know who Stanley Kubrick is, I mean like I think you'll get this, you know? Like you just like I think what I do agree with is like movies are not made like this, and I think that's there are tons of fucking movies like this. And the problem is people are so they don't want to go back and watch old things because yuck for some reason. And so that's like maybe the most annoying thing about our culture is that like old things are bad and new things are the only thing that exists, which is just bad for society. Old things, the reason that old things are still around. And why you hear all your favorite filmmakers reference old fucking movies because they're movies. If you only watch things that are put out now and get inspired by things now, you're just gonna make something that's what now that are made that's tailored to now. And so when you get something innovative like this that is calling back to things like Tarkovsky, Kubrick, fantasy epics, like Heaven's Gate and like some old Ridley Scott things, like you get this, and so like I think for me it's just like this film is yeah, you're also not supposed to like we talk about this in the review. It's like you're not supposed to watch this and be like, get every single thing that you see. You know
Yeah.
why? Because Garland has no idea what the fuck is going on. Like you're on this journey with this
Great
guy,
point. Yeah.
and so just fucking embrace the visual aspect of this movie. Visual at movies are not fucking good. Just look at the trailer for like any Netflix produced movie. They all look like the same fucking movie and it's so weird to me. Like they all have the exact same color grading, and it makes me want to die. Like, and it's not that it's bad, right? It's not that it's like bad. It's just the same.
Yeah.
Like Red Notice looks exactly like. Don't look up. They have like the same color grading.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't know what that is. I think I read that there is this deep psychological thing that's going on there, where has tapped into something where they're making their things look similar, and that's leading people to click on things more. We're in this really horrible culture of thumbnails, which is like kind of what they're doing, where they're kind of creating these things to for people to click on it, and not really. And they're also not made for theaters. Green Knight was made for theaters. It was
Yeah.
made to experience in a movie theater, which is novel, which is crazy to say.
Yeah.
You're gonna see you saw a trend in our fucking top 10 movies. They're all dude, Green Knight, like Nightmare Alley. These things that are truly visual and cinematic, and not like you're just watching a movie to have the story just spoon fed to you,
Yeah.
which a
Yeah.
lot of things are.
And what that makes me also think of about what makes the Green Knight so great, and I think why all these films on this list really connect to me are films that do this, but it's really such a pure expression of David Lowery. It's
Yeah,
him
his
like
version
putting
of it.
himself out there
Yeah,
in just like the way that he really wants to.
right.
That's like one of the cool things about A24 because they really curate a certain type of style, but also part of their curation process and the films that they help get made are films that are driven by a person who wants to make something,
Yeah,
has
right.
something he really wants to
Yeah.
say. And the thing I like also about Green Knight is I felt the discovery process that David Lowery went through when making this film. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
like an outside in where it's just like, oh, I want to do this thing. It was like,
Yeah.
I want to go on this journey and produce this
Well, I
thing
find this
and pull
film
it from myself.
so unpretentious. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
this is the type of movie that's some, I think, this person that doesn't watch a lot of movies just chalks this up as like pretentious. I don't think like this film is not pretentious in any fucking way. Like it's
Yeah.
presenting this story and like it wants the audience to enjoy it. It's not like inclusive. And I think that feeling that you're describing is like great because you are watching it kind of unfold in front of you and kind of he just knows this film inside and out, like what to show and what not to show and like he's not like there are like and I am that type of person that enjoys these types of films, but there are like a Tarkovsky film, for example, like I know some normal audience members might feel like that's inclusive, and might not get any of the subtext and things like that, you
Yeah.
know. And those can be frustrating, and I totally get that. But this film to me is like not that. It's such
I
a
think that's a great point.
visual feast for the eyes, and like so many. like suspenseful sequences and literally just visually intriguing, set pieces that like I don't know why you would just chalk this up with something that's this is just A24 artsy shit,
Yeah,
It's like
yeah, yeah.
give a
That's
grip.
a really good point because it's definitely unconventional because David Lowery was just like, I just want to do this in the way that I want to do this, and it's not going to be
Right.
quite like anything else. But at the end
Yeah,
of the
it's not a
day,
Guy Ritchie movie.
right. But
They speak in the right tongue.
uh, but this film at the end of the day, even though it's unconventional and weird, it's really not that experimental. It's not
No,
that wild.
no,
It's pretty just like straight adventure story, and it just has
no,
it's just unique in just
no,
the way that it's told
no,
and stuff like that. But you're right, it's pretty like when I think about this film, and one of the reasons I like it so much is like what you said, is the unpretentious nature about it, but that every moment where you think about it, every moment has a lot of depth to it, but it's not like in
yes,
this way that it's challenging you.
no,
It's
no,
just like it just is that way.
no,
You
no,
get everything that you need to know is on the screen, and it's
no,
just kind of hard because I think what's frustrating about this film is that you're not, like what you've said, you're not supposed to draw conclusions about everything.
no.
Like you're just supposed to
Like
have.
that's like, and I think in this day and age, every movie is like, here's what it is, and here's what you need to feel, and here's the story. And it's like what, like you
Yeah.
could, you don't have to do it that way. It's just
Yeah,
like
I see this film as like a really good impressionistic painting, or like a
yeah,
film that where its line works are sort of like, you don't, not all the lines connect all the way. Like there's
right,
open spaces in some
yeah,
of the line work and stuff like that.
yeah.
And I love paintings like
It's
that.
all
I
about
love
the
drawings
vibe,
like that.
baby. It's all about the
Yeah.
vibe. It's all about the just like just the feeling of the movie, and
And
like
and the other thing that shows how good of a good director David Lowery is that a lot of times directors might kind of get like the look or like that kind of visual feeling of it right, but he also connects the story into that in a very
yeah,
satisfying way, which is
right,
what kind of pushes this film above and beyond for me, because it's not,
right,
it is like, it's a story told through that visual experience, but
yeah,
the story is still there, and
yeah,
that
exactly,
is
right,
so awesome. It's
yeah.
so awesome because it's really hard to do that. It's really hard.
Oh yeah, that's why people don't come to it, and also because no one fucking sees these movies.
Right, right.
And so yeah, so when you get something like this, it's awesome. And people fans of this movie watch it like tons of times. And have it on Blu-ray, and this is a movie that I like and I will watch forever. You know,
We'll watch it. I'll
this
watch it a
also has
lot.
a timeless quality to it as well.
Yeah, yeah.
So okay,
Number
I love
one.
that number one pick because I love that movie. But number one is a film that I think not a lot of people have seen yet. It will be on Hulu soon. It is The Worst Person in the World.
Whoa.
This is a Nordic film. I love this movie. I absolutely love this movie. Um, weird. Okay,
Cool.
if you want a double feature, I think a great double feature would be The Worst Person in the World and Licorice Pizza.
Huh.
They both deal with uh characters, two women in their 20s, dealing with uh being lost. And Paul Thomas Anderson called this his favorite movie of the year. Funny enough, which is funny. Um, and so I when I saw this, I was like, oh, so this is kind of a better version of the first pizza. And it's not like a
Wow.
similar film in the way that like vibe wise, it's just thematically similar. But anyway, I think that this film is amazing. And this is one of those things that what I was saying earlier is that this completely blew like I didn't know I didn't see a trailer, I didn't see anything. All I heard was that it was a big winner at Cannes, won a bunch of awards at Cannes. Um and the poster was really intriguing. It's like this woman running. It just was an interesting looking. I was just like, I want to see that. And the title, the worst person in the world, like I want to see that. It was just intriguing. The art house theater that's in DC was playing it. I decided to go, and it just it blew my socks off. It was like this romance film, and this is a film like a type of film that like it's definitely probably my least favorite. I'm not like straight romance films are uh hard for me to get into sometimes, but I haven't been. The only way I can describe the feeling that I had walking out of this movie is that I genuinely thought that I just watched a like 4 years of a life of a character that
Wow.
like I just felt like I just lived this life, and I walked out like knowing this character, the main character of this movie. The actress won Best Actress at Cannes, um, and with good reason. She is unbelievably fantastic. It's my favorite character of the year. It's like she is it's what this movie is about. Is it's about this character who's about in her 20s, and it follows 4 years of her life with relationships with two different men.
Hmm.
So there's the first half of it is the relationship with this cartoonist, this comic book artist,
Oh,
and yeah, and there's actually uh, this amazing sequence in the movie. If you don't want to watch it, it's fine, but I'm gonna force you to watch this one scene because there's a scene where they blend 2D like comic book animation with live action in
that's
like
cool.
a really fucking funny and cool way. Um, that and then the second half is relationship with another guy. And I don't want to get into like the title, the worst person in the world, because it's kind of just part of the fun I think of watching the movie, kind of like learning about this character. But to me, this movie has everything. It made me laugh. It made me cry. It made me like question my existence. Like there's a lot to love about this movie, and it's beautifully shot. I want to move to Oslo. Jesus Christ,
Yeah.
it's fucking gorgeous. Uh, and this movie is just like I've never seen like a film that's dealt with this idea of cheating and this idea of like infidelity in this real way, like this truly realistic way, and not portraying it as these people are. If you cheat on your girlfriend, you're a piece of garbage, or you cheat on your boyfriend, you're an automatic piece of shit. Uh,
Hmm.
this movie really explores the idea of that and this character who is one of the most uh layered and interesting characters I've seen in cinema in like a long time. Like I've never seen a character where in a movie in a long time where I genuinely fall in love with. You know what I mean? Like I watch it,
Yeah.
I'm like, I am in love with this woman. Like I
Yeah.
love her. Like she's amazing. Um and which is so flawed, and that's kind of part of the title of the movie is she believes she's the worst person in the world, and so there's this. The movie's incredibly well written. They're so funny. It's so dramatic, especially towards the end. It made me cry. It genuinely made me cry. I was like by myself seeing this movie with like five other people in the theater, and I was like tearing up at the end of this movie.
Yeah.
It's really powerful. What I love about things like this too is that you know, uh, I love movies just about characters. This movie doesn't have a particular plot. It's not like The Green Knight where it's like we're going on an adventure. We gotta go kill the Green Knight. It's not
Yeah.
that. It's literally looking at this character through about 4 years of her life with these relationships with these two guys and how
Yeah.
she deals with those relationships and how those relationships end and how they bleed into one another. And it's just absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. And a movie like this could also be categorized as some people like a talking movie where it's people talking. Like some people would say that. This movie is incredibly cinematic. There are amazing cinematic sequences in this movie. There's one that is my favorite scene of the year. It's incredibly powerful and it's all cinema. It's no dialogue. It's all through cinema. Uh, and that's the the scene is the poster. I'm not going to give away because it's really great when you see it. But um, this is another film too, kind of like Parasite, where everybody will like this movie. I don't see. I will have a hard time believing someone watching this and going, "I don't like it." This is truly like, what's not to like? You know, what
Yeah.
is not to like about this movie? And I can see if like you don't like sad things, you know, maybe this is hard for you to watch, but it just is such a beautiful portrayal of relationships and like something that one of the most honest movies about relationships told from like a woman's perspective that does not feel because it is made by a man, you know, and a very empathetic man and a very sweet man. Like I've just seen interviews with him, he seems like a very cool guy. But Joaquin Trier, I think that's his name, he's Nordic. But uh it's just it's told with this beautiful sensitivity that I just loved, and it was one of those things that I just couldn't believe because this was not the type of movie that I would seek out usually or like
Yeah.
love, and me watching this and just getting so much out of it. There's so much story here too. It's not like a Richard Linklater movie, which I absolutely love, which is more about the vibe. There really is a sense of really cool style, a progression to the story. The film, I think, in Norway is called 12 Chapters or something as well. The film is split up into 12 chapters, which makes this film kind of feel really interesting in that regard. Because as new chapters start, you kind of, with just one sentence or one word, like to, thematically set up the next chapter, there's this really interesting kind of like structure and progression that happens throughout the film. And it's just, I absolutely loved it. It's one of those things that just blew me away. It was like I saw it because it got good reviews at 10, and my favorite filmmaker loves it, and so I was like, all right,
I'll
I'll check it
try.
out, and it just really really blew me away. Made me fall in love with this actress. I can't remember her name. I think it's Renette. I can't. I'm not going to try to pronounce her last name, but she's adorable and just an incredible actress. And I can't wait to see more films with her in it because I think she already is kind of blowing up from this film, but I think you're gonna see her a lot moving forward because she's just one of those actors that just has this quality about it that you really just can't describe. It's just
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
magic movie star quality. She's beautiful, but she has something that is really unique. And this is her first starring role as well, which is also
Wow.
really impressive as well. Um, yeah, worst person one.
Damn.
I think it's on. I think it's going. It's a Neon film, so I think it's
Okay.
going to be on Hulu. Hulu. It would be a major disservice if they don't put this on some streaming service because, goddamn, this like everybody will love this movie. Like I recommended this to my mom. I recommended this to you. I recommended this to everybody I know.
Yeah.
It's just so good and so accessible, but it's not corny accessible. It's really emotional and very uh sincere, which is like what I love about these types of films. So
That was a
there you
mad,
go.
inspiring elevator
Number
pitch.
one. That
Definitely
was my
gonna watch
elevator
that
pitch.
now. Mad, that's mad cool, bro. That's mad cool.
Yeah, it's great. I'm gonna watch everything that guy made too. Apparently he's made a couple films that are really great before it too. So I'm
Well,
gonna
I
check
love
those out.
is it it's Nordic, it's Swedish. What is
Nordic.
it again?
Nordic.
Nordic?
They're speaking what is it? What are they speaking? Norway. Nordic?
Uh
The language?
Nord?
Nord.
Do they speak Nord?
I don't know what language they speak. I can't remember. But did you know, weird side note, did you know that because there's like incredible nighttime scenes in this movie? I was like, how did they shoot that? Because it looks amazing. There's no visual effects in this fucking movie, but except for the that one, you can tell that a lot of the visual effects budget went to this one scene. But
Yeah.
like, did you know that it doesn't get dark in Oslo? Do you know that?
Oh.
It's one of the places where, like, at like 2 in the morning, it's like kind of dusk. It's like blue, like the sun that
Whoa.
really goes down, which gives it this really actually unique quality to it because not a lot of places in the world are like that. So
Yeah.
like the nighttime scenes feel so magical in a weird way. They feel like
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
interesting. That's why I say I want to move to Oslo. This movie makes Oslo look like the coolest place ever. You
Yeah.
know, I want to go.
Hell yeah. Well, man, that was really cool. That made me really, really want to watch the movie now. I really want to watch. That's a good thing about doing top tens because it just makes you want to watch movies. Like, oh,
Yeah,
good
I
movies. Yeah.
might watch The Green Knight again tonight. Jesus, like so good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just good to remember all these films that you just have because every single one of these films was like a profound personal experience for
Yeah,
both of us. So it's like kind of talking about it and revisiting that. It's just like Inside. I'd forgotten how important
oh,
that film
so
was to
good.
me and sort of talking about it
I watched it
again.
about a year ago.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is crazy. But it's like, yeah, I love movies, dude.
Yeah,
This was a good time, fun list.
good year. Oh yeah, the worst person in the world's on Criterion too. Did you see
Oh,
that?
that's cool.
They
Yeah, I
put it
did. You
on
sent that to me.
Criterion. Like, geez, I just did everything right. And that was so. I genuinely, I wish you were in the room with me. I was genuinely like, oh my god, I'm so excited to like, I was just not expecting that, but like, it's awesome.
Uh,
That film was so good. So it's just like, I'm so happy that Criterion was like put it on there. They didn't put Teton, but they put that. So it's
yeah,
like I don't know what's going on. I guess they liked it better. I don't know.
yeah. Who's making decisions over there? They make good decisions, but I don't know who's making decisions.
I don't know. I wonder if it's like a committee. I wonder if it's like a group of people.
That would probably be the
They
the the
vote.
smartest thing
They
if
put
they
movies
vote
on
on
the
it.
wall. Who hasn't working there? You have to like do research and try to like figure out what goes on with
Probably
the
be hard
collection.
as fuck. Criterion is probably a hard job.
Oh yeah, a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
All right, everybody. That was our fucking 2021 list. It was amazing.
It's a lot of
So
fun.
many fucking movies that we recommended. We don't like any of them. I'm sorry, but those are our recommendations for 2021 movies. Hello? Hello?
I'm still here.
Did I cut out?
No, I just took an unnecessarily long pause.
I thought everything stopped and paused for a second.
I was just taking a dramatic pause. I felt like
That
it
was
felt like it
dramatic.
needed it.
The silence was palpable.
Yeah.
All right,
Good
everybody.
list. We're gonna make a better one next year. Well, it's kind of hard to say that, but
I think so. There's some fucking crazy news coming out this year, man.
yeah, yeah.
The new Daniels movie comes out next week. The Robert Eggers, fucking Northman.
Oh, I keep
But
forgetting
hey,
about
there's
that.
a Batman movie that came out that was fucking awesome.
A little old Batman movie.
That movie. There's Ari Aster's new movie comes out this year. Uh, George Miller, the director of Mad Max Fury Road, has a movie premiering at Cannes. What? In a
Hell
month?
yeah.
That just came out in the news. What the hell? I didn't even know he was making a movie. Like, what? Oh, I hope that's good.
Yeah,
Jesus.
I do too. I didn't know about that either.
Stars Idris Elba. We don't know anything about it. Uh,
Cool. Okay.
yeah, hopefully it's great. Hopefully it's not Happy Feet 2. Happy Feet 3. It's like the surprise premiere. This is Happy
Yeah.
Feet 3.
What you
Um,
all wanted all of this time.
um, yeah, crazy cool movies. Damien Chazelle, his new movie comes out this year. It's a lot of cool, fucking dope ass, good, hopefully good stuff. So who knows? It might be better. More movies to watch.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's for sure. Sonic
Oh,
2.
the cream of the top. That's already going to be the ones of both of our list. Number one
Number
material
one,
right there.
Sonic 2.
Sonic 2.
The Return of Eggman, or whatever.
Yeah. Well, go watch movies, everybody. They're really, really cool.
All right, everybody. Thank you guys for listening. 2021 movies? Yes. Bye bye.
Bye.